Here is the latest Higher Summits forecast brought to you by our friends at the Mount Washington Observatory.
Weather above treeline in the White Mountains is often wildly different than at our trailheads. Before you hike, check the Higher Summits forecast at mountwashington.org. Weather observers working at the nonprofit Mount Washington Observatory write this elevation-based forecast every morning and afternoon. Search and rescue teams, avalanche experts, and backcountry guides all rely on the Higher Summits forecast to anticipate weather conditions above treeline. You should too. Go to mountwashington.org or text forecast to 603-356-2137. Here's your forecast for Friday, January 19th and Saturday, January 20th. There is an alert this weekend. It's a wind chill warning in effect through Saturday. The discussion section states, the Arctic air mass moving in on Friday night will result in lingering cold air through the end of this weekend. Thus, the freezing temperatures and high winds will continue producing cold and raw conditions outside this forecast period. The cold temperatures and strong winds will make the air feel much colder on exposed skin, which could allow exposure risk to start developing in as little as 5 minutes if inadequately covered or not prepared. So Friday, in and out of the clouds early, trending towards mostly in the clear onto partly cloudy skies midday, and then in and out of the clouds again late, with a temp rising to the lower single digits late. Winds will be west at 30 to 45 miles per hour, shifting northwest and decreasing to 15 to 30 miles per hour, and the wind chill rising to 20 below to 30 below. That's no joke. Friday night, in and out of the clouds early, trending towards mostly in the clear with a slight chance of snow showers late, little to no snow accumulations expected, with a low falling to around 5 below. Winds will be northwest at 20 to 35 miles per hour, increasing to 30 to 45 miles per hour with gusts up to 55 miles per hour. Again, the wind chill, of note here, falling to 35 below to 45 below. Saturday, in and out of the clouds under partly cloudy skies. High temp rising to the lower single digits. Winds north at 25 to 40 miles per hour with gusts up to 50 miles per hour. And again, the wind chill will be 25 below to 35 below.
Broadcasting from the Woodpeckers studio in the great state of New Hampshire. Welcome to the Sounds Like a Search and Rescue podcast, where we discuss all things related to hiking and search and rescue in the White Mountains of New Hampshire. Here are your hosts, Mike and Stump.
Hitting record. All right, Stomp. So we're episode 136. Are you ready? You focused?
Yeah, man. A little bit. I'm not going to lie. There's a little melancholy hovering in the air, but I'm relying on dad jokes and these two guests to boost the spirits.
Yeah. I already got a read on Dave. He's going to be like shot out of a cannon, I can tell.
Nice.
When you're a priest for 25 years, it's when you come back into the mainstream. It's
Wait, you were a priest for 20?
We'll get to that later. Don't worry about it, Mike. It's just
Well, you have me like I'm curious now. I want to know. All right.
And now it became less interesting.
All right. I gotta add that to my list of things on the script here. So Stomp, just before we get going, I've got a scheduling issue next week that we've got to figure out. Mrs. Mike, without my permission, scheduled her book club on Thursday night with her crew next week. So I've got to make the decision on whether I just record with all the ladies upstairs in the book club, or if we just...
Well, if next week is Sherpa Ant, then we're good to go because they wanted to record earlier in the week. I think we should be all set. I think it was supposed to be Wednesday. Yeah, so you're off the hook.
Okay. Then I can make the charcuterie board for the
there you go.
book club.
There you go. Yeah, you should be good.
All right.
Problem solved.
All right. Very good. All right. So
the behind the scenes isn't quite what I thought it was going to be.
Sorry to disappoint you. So
no, actually, more real world.
Yes.
I want to figure out how to get in this book club.
Well, it's tough. I've tried. They won't let me in. So, but anyway, welcome to episode 136 of the Sounds Like a Search and Rescue podcast. This week we have a listener spotlight with our friends Liz and Dave. Dave of Dave Shits in the Woods fame. So we brought you up a couple times here. So they're going to join us to talk about their hiking and outdoor adventure pursuits. They're both well-experienced hikers in the New England area, so we'll talk to them about their backgrounds. We'll expose the secret Illuminati 500 highest hiking group that they're involved in to the audience, and we'll learn about their gear preferences, favorite hikes, and plenty of other topics. Apparently, Dave used to be a priest, so we'll see what that's all about. All this plus the Garden of Eden has been discovered in the Catskills. Hot tub parties are going to be harder to come by soon in the White Mountains. Snow shoveling road rage incidents. Another story of a vagrant homeless guy who turns out to be rich. A refresher on the rules of the 4,000 Footer Club. Gear reviews, pop culture, hikes on Owl's Head, hiking and sledding on Mount Cannon or Cannon Mountain, and recent search and rescue news. So I'm Mike.
And I'm Stomp. Let's get started.
Are we going to be able to go to bed tonight with all that stuff? So
I don't know. It could be a couple hours, but
a lot of topics. So
we get plenty of data.
Yes. Yeah.
This is Ben Pease from Hiking Buddies. We are a 501c3 nonprofit committed to reducing avoidable tragedies through education, impactful projects, and fostering a community of support. You can find out more at hikingbuddies.org. We wanted to say thank you to those who have supported our mission, and most importantly, say thanks to those who speak up, who ask questions, and who are willing to provide guidance and assistance on the trails when needed. You embody what it means to be a hiking buddy. And now, for all my newer hikers out there, here's this episode's Hiking Buddies Quick Tip.
As a rule of thumb, stay away from cotton on trail. Synthetics and wool or wool blends will prevent moisture from building up, creating a safer body temperature and temperature regulation. Wear layers to achieve the warmth that you need.
So I want to just start the show off. We're recording this on Thursday. There was just a press release sent out by New Hampshire Fish and Game a couple of hours ago that announced that there was a hiker fatality in the Pemi region. So I think it was by Mount Guyot, and it was a local hiker that's well known in the area that unfortunately had an incident. There's not a lot of details on exactly what happened, but it was a fatality. So the search and rescue teams were out there diligently trying to do whatever they could to locate this hiker, and unfortunately, he succumbed to the elements out there. It's a sad time right now. So we're not going to do a deep dive on this one. We just wanted to recognize it and just send condolences to the family and our thoughts and well wishes to all the members of the search and rescue teams that were out there helping, and fishing game, and anybody else that was involved in this. Correct.
Yeah, there'll be no search and rescue section tonight. A little nod of condolences to everybody out there. And if you heard that forecast opening the show, it's going to be another nasty weekend, so just be prepared and be safe out there.
Yeah, we got another cold clip coming in. I'm not doing any hiking this weekend. Are you doing any hiking, Stomp, this weekend?
I have to. Well, I made a note later in the show, but the trails are open for sledding, so I'm going to be guiding finally, which is fantastic. But Saturday morning is supposed to be in the single digits. It's like feast or famine. The trails are open, but now it's a whole other challenge. But I think I will hit something tomorrow afternoon, like something small, maybe Wambeck or something quick. That's the only time I have available to me this weekend. How about you? You going to go out?
No, I've got family stuff I got to deal with, so I'll be taking the weekend off and then getting back out there the following weekend.
Yeah, it's probably smart.
Yeah. All right, so we wanted to just give a thanks again to Toby and Megan from the Mount Washington Auto Road for joining us last week. We got a lot of good feedback. People had said that they enjoyed their segment and that they're going to commit to getting out there and trying out some of the activities that are available at the Auto Road. Stomp, I did see a guy in the BJ's parking lot. I usually go once a week. He had one of those I Climb Mount Washington bumper stickers on his car. I almost told him to check out the podcast, but I decided not to. I thought it'd be a little weird.
That's funny. Cool. Very cool. So what is it? I hiked it or I drove it, or what kind of bumper sticker?
Yeah, this car drove up Mount Washington.
Oh, the car did. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. That was a good episode. It's really enjoyable. It's like I feel like we're covering every conceivable aspect of that summit. We've done the observatory, the COG's coming up, and that's a surprise. And what else? What's left?
It was supposed to be a secret.
Was that a secret?
I don't know.
Anymore.
I don't know. Anyway, we're covering all bases when it comes to Adja Kachuk.
Okay. All right. So Liz, I got a question for you. Have you ever, and we're gonna do a deep dive here, but have you ever had to like do anything heroic on the trail? Like, have you run across anyone that's in trouble and you had to like save them or give them like a Band-Aid, even anything like that?
No, I don't think so. I did have a friend who was hiking one time, and she called me asking me, what do I do? How does she call for help? Which at the time I didn't know, but I have a friend that was actually rescued some years ago at Arethusa Falls. Okay. So she knew all about search and rescue. So she was able to give me some tips to give my friend. Okay. But I have not.
All right. Well, the reason I bring it up is because our friend Al, who often gives us like news articles and things like that to cover on the show, he sent over a tip on an award. So if you're a civilian and you happen upon somebody that's in peril and you take extraordinary effort to save them, you can win this award, which is called a Carnegie Hero Award. So it's from Carnegie Foundation. I think they've got like a university, and it's basically like this Carnegie Medal. And essentially what the Carnegie Medal is a prestigious award that is considered one of the highest civilian honors in the U.S. and Canada. So essentially the requirements for this award are, it was established in 1904, and the life of a human victim must be in imminent danger of being lost without intervention. This must be believed by the rescuer. The rescuer must be a civilian who knowingly and voluntarily risks death or serious physical injury to an extraordinary degree. The rescuer must have rescued or attempted the rescue of another person. It's got to be undertaken by the rescuer and must be perceived by the rescuer, and that perception cannot be diminished by outside factors. So it has to be high risk. and it has to occur in the U.S. and Canada, and then it has to be brought to the attention of this commission within like 2 years. So the reason I bring this up is because every once in a while, like somebody will bail somebody out on trail, and I suspect that there's more of these incidents that happen where people just stumble across a hiker and help them to get out with like little or no fanfare. So I wanted to just call out that this award is available. So I'll put this in the show notes, and it's called the Carnegie Medal, and you can nominate anybody for it. And Al had done some research and had found that there was actually a award given in 1968 related to a rescue on Mount Washington. So it's the only award that he could find that ties into the White Mountains or hiking, but it's a pretty prestigious award. So it was issued in 1968 to a guy named George Smith, I believe his name is, and he rescued like a couple of hikers that were messing around in Huntington Ravine on, I think, March 23rd. And he, essentially what happened here is that there was two 18-year-old climbers, and they were rescued from a sheer ice ledge in a 100-mile-an-hour wind and below zero temperature. So there was these rescuers there that ended up plucking these two UNH students from a ledge about 500 feet above Huntington Ravine, on which they were stranded by an avalanche. So the gentleman in question who got rescued, his name is Jeffrey Damp. He was suffering from frostbitten hands and feet and a leg puncture wound, and then also exposure. So they were brought down the mountains to the base camp where a doctor was able to treat them. There was a third 19-year-old climber that reported their situation after he was swept away, and he made his way down to the AMC Harvard cabin, and then from there, I guess that's what initiated the rescue. So the gentleman that received the award, again, his name was George Smith. I think there was a couple of other rescuers that received it as well, but it's a pretty interesting story, Stomp, right?
Yeah, that's cool. That's super cool.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah, so just keep that in mind. Like, I think about like that situation with like Jeff Rogers and that whole crew that saved that skier that was in Tuckerman, and they got in action. So it's something like that where you truly are going to save a person's life.
Correct.
Yep.
Wow.
So we'll put that in the show notes, and it's good to know that these rescues and calamities were going on back in the 60s just like they are now. So
timeless.
It's timeless.
I had a newlywed on trail once, and he had indigestion, and I gave him some Tums. And I think
you're a candidate.
I feel like
it's pretty big.
Like we're going to put in the nomination for you.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like his honeymoon. It's kind of a big deal.
I thought you were going to say you met a newlywed on trail and you told him to run away.
Wow, it was written secretly on the Tums, like those little candies for Halloween. It just said run.
Yeah, you shouldn't have said I do. Run away. So, all right. So Stomp, the next article you just pulled here, the world's oldest forest is...
Yeah, what's up with that?
385 million years ago and was seen by dinosaurs. So this is in... it's called the Cairo site, and it's a short drive from New York City. Our friend Stosh has got to know this area, I'm sure.
Yeah, we'll have to get his input. Yeah, check that out, huh? They estimate 385 million years. They have fossilated trees and roots. They say these trees from this original forest were 65 feet tall, if not higher, 5 feet wide. And they think, with the dating, that for sure there was some dinosaur activity adjacent to the existence of this early forest. Very interesting story.
Yeah. I mean, Here I was. I thought the Garden of Eden was the oldest forest, and now it's in New York.
Right. Yeah. Where would the historic biblical Garden of Eden be? Isn't this somewhere around Iran?
In the Fertile Crescent.
Iraq. It's somewhere in that region.
It's the Fertile Crescent. It's between the Tigris and Euphrates River.
That's correct. Yeah, that's correct. That's what they think. Yeah. Yes. You see, you're such a holy roller, Mike.
Aristocrat. Yeah.
We've got a former priest,
Yes.
a holy roller.
Yeah,
this is cool.
Geez.
That's some book club knowledge right there.
Yes. All right, so I guess we'll have to go check out this competitor of the Garden of Eden. We'll ask our friend Stosh from the Catskills to go check it out and report back.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, stop. Next up, we got a couple of articles we want to go through here with listeners. So, New Hampshire's Bow Winter Workshop. What is that?
Yeah, so it's new by me too. So becoming
okay, got it.
Yeah, Becoming an Outdoors Woman Winter Workshop. This is, registration opens on Sunday, January 14th, and this is sponsored here on the Fish and Game website. So it's a one-day program where women will learn outdoor skills to enjoy during the winter months. So they focus on outdoor activities during the day-long workshop. Choices include winter hiking, winter outdoor survival, snowshoeing, wildlife tracking, shoe and shoot, woodland target shooting, etc., etc. The fee is $85, and registration opens on the 14th, and I believe the courses... so registration closes on the 5th of February. So what date is the workshop? The 24th of... Saturday, February 24th. Sounds awesome.
Yeah, it sounds great. And stop. Can I just ask a favor of you, please?
Sure.
On the script, when you do these scripts here, if there's an acronym, like I notice sometimes, like you'll just assume that I know what the acronym is. Can you just make sure you write out the acronym? Because I don't always read these articles before the show, and this one I feel like I got a little embarrassed there.
I feel like we've been over this conversation before. Yeah. Duly noted. This strike two. I only have one more chance.
I will say that you've gotten much better about like hyperlinking the entire So we've got some Stomp's got
there's hope for the old dog.
He's got some work to do, but he's doing okay. So Liz and Dave, I got a question for you. Do you guys ever in your travels have either one of you ever like snuck into any of the local hotels to sneak into the hot tub or the sauna areas that are available?
I can't say as I have.
Yeah.
You can't prove that I have done any of those things. So
right. Well, you're both like a little more local to the white, so you probably haven't done this. So I'm not naming anybody, but our friend Jimmy Chalk, he knows what this is all about.
Yeah, he's the go-to.
Yeah, he knows how to get into the pools and all that fun stuff. But apparently there is which hotel is this, Stomp?
This is the, the Mountain View Grand Resort in Whitefield. They had an issue a few weeks back where a few people got sick, somebody died, and they traced it back to our good old friend Legionella, which, if you know, historically, there was a big story decades ago where I believe it was veterans or an elderly home. All these people were dying, and they found Legionella bacteria up in the ventilation system up on the roof. So apparently they're having issues here with the hot tub, and people were hit by it bad, and it comes down to bacteria growing in this hot tub system here at the hotel.
I would take it over. I'd risk Legionnaires for a nice hot tub.
I guess. I mean, have you been in these hot tubs though? I mean, they're so chlorinated. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine how this happened. It's very peculiar, but I guess it did.
I don't know. Don't they say, like, isn't it like, so, I mean, Dave, you're more of a shits in the woods type of guy, but my understanding is like the pee in the hot tub, like if you can smell a lot of chlorine, that means that people have peed in the hot tub.
Oh, so, is that true?
Not as a professional on the urine side of things, but as a close first or second, I guess, however that would go. Is chlorine, and like Grey Wolf smells like, Great Wolf Lodge, whatever it is where the kids swim.
Yeah.
There's a reason for the chlorination.
Huh.
Yeah.
Immunocompromised people and smokers are generally at higher risk, so
okay,
you're all set.
I remember there was a Legionnaire's disease outbreak at like one of the hotels in Las Vegas. I think the Rio hotel in Vegas had a problem with this like multiple times. So I think once it gets into like whatever the air conditioning system or the ductwork or something, that's not good. So
I got to be honest with you, me and Mr. Stump have been a little anxious about it because we've been hitting Indian Head a couple times over the last few months, and we love it there. It's so much fun. But yeah, their hot tub is, I guess, a potential candidate. Hopefully they're doing the right things and taking care of it.
All right.
But anyway.
Well, moving on here. What's your responsibility when it comes to clearing snow out of your area? Like, do you just wait for a plow to go through, or do you like actually clear? Because you have like a shared parking lot where you live.
Yeah, it's actually part of the whole deal. So there is shovelers that come in and plows that come in and take care of the property. So that's a nice blessing, man. I'm telling you, not having to deal with that.
Seriously.
So yeah, it's great. So easy.
Do you in places that you lived before, have you ever had any issues with like because I go over, like, some of my neighbors are older, so I don't want to brag, and I don't think I need a Carnegie medal for this, but I do like kind of go out in my snowblower and help them at the end of the driveway. So I don't know if
that's
you
great.
ever did that before or not.
No. I would help the people around me if I could, like yourself, for sure. So I've never had an issue.
Yeah.
But I've never come to blows. Let's just say that.
Yeah, that's the reason why I bring this up, is that the next story is 3 Pennsylvania neighbors are dead after a fight over snow shoveling. So apparently they had an argument. One man went into his house and got a gun. So this is in Plains Township, Pennsylvania, and just before 9 a.m. on Monday, officers responded to report of shots fired in a residential neighborhood, and they discovered a husband and wife, 50 and 48-year-old, lying dead in the street in front of their home. Residents in the area directed police to a house across the street from the home, and as they approached, they found that the person who had actually shot the couple had done a self-inflicted gunshot wound to himself as well. So apparently they had been in a long-running feud that had reached a boiling point on the snowiest day of the year, and they were shoveling, the couple was shoveling snow from their parking spots and throwing it onto this guy's property, and then he just wasn't having it. So
wow. That's crazy.
I'll be honest with you. I snowblow into my neighbor Roger's yard next door, and I don't think he cares. So I'm lucky. I have good neighbors.
Gee whiz. Well, at least it wasn't the shovels. I thought this story was going to be about people bashing each other with shovels.
No. It just was a feud. But you got to get along with your neighbors. Like life's too short to not get along with your neighbors.
Yeah. So you're going to grab a flamethrower and start melting your snow, like you had suggested on a road?
I thought Toby liked that idea.
I think they're hot for that idea for sure.
Make a tank with a flamethrower.
Yep.
Okay. So next up, Stomp, we've got fun things to do this weekend.
Ho, ho, ho. There are several things on here. Yeah. Ice Castle's open this weekend, so that's right up in Lincoln. That's always a good time. I haven't been for a few years, but finally it's cold enough, and they were able to make some snow. And on this list, I found a couple interesting things. This one, where is it? Ice Castles, and then winter. Oh, here it is. So the Nansen Ski Club hosts a winter carnival in Milan. It takes place Saturday and Sunday at 83 Milan Road, but they have an art sled rally. So sledders arrive and they build wild and crazy decorations on their sleds. Cardboard is highly recommended. And then there's a ski jump meeting. So that sounds like a really good time.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
Yeah, it's different. Then they list some other things like an opera house that's opening and a movie and whatnot. But a couple fun things to do in the cold.
Yeah. There's a murder mystery. Have you ever gone to one of those things where it's like audience participation?
Oh, no. I absolutely dread that idea.
Yeah, I don't like that either. Like, I'm paying to be entertained. Like, I don't want to do work.
I don't want to be tortured. Yeah, no, I'm good. No, thanks. How about you two? Have you ever gone to one of these things?
No.
No,
we did the Medieval Manor back in college, and that was different.
The Medieval Manor. Oh.
I mean, it was participation, but it was voluntary. But technically, after I don't know how many glasses of meat.
Remember the dark beer that it would just keep going and going. Oh, that was
Dave. Was it really mead?
Yeah.
Wow,
well,
that's a riot.
They said it was meat. I'm sure it was just beer. I mean, I don't want to, ruin it.
Yeah.
Just like how the fridge works. I don't want to ruin secrets.
It was like a dark. It wasn't Guinness, but it was like a dark beer like that they would. And they would just keep it coming. Like you would tell the way. It
was like a lager. It was. You just had tokens. You had the tokens you had to give them or something. Right. They just kept pouring and pouring. You had to eat with your hands and.
Wasn't it Cable Guy with Jim Carrey where they go to one of these things?
Yeah. Yes.
If anybody hasn't seen that scene, that's a funny scene. That's a good movie, by the way.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right. So, stop. Remember the story of the guy in New Hampshire he was sort of like a vagrant type, not a vagrant, but he was like a hermit. And I don't know if he was homeless or he just lived very frugally, and he died and ended up leaving the town like $2 million or something crazy. Remember that story? It was in New Hampshire.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
So, local story here in Haverhill, Mass. And I got to give a shout out to my daughter, Megan. She was like so excited. She's like, Dad, I think I have a story for your podcast. So, which is cool. So, this guy was like he was like a bicycle guy around Haverhill, Mass. And he spent a lot of time at, like one of these VFW posts, I think he hung out on. Yeah. And he would constantly ride his bike around. He was known as the can man. He would collect cans. Uh-huh. So, his friends were on him like, hey, you got to make sure you take care of yourself. He's an older guy. He apparently fell on his bike one day, and the local bartender at the VFW hall that he spent a lot of time hanging out in helped him out. They got him into the hospital. He was like, can you make sure that you get my backpack and keep it safe? So, lo and behold, he goes into the hospital. He's in there for a couple of weeks, and then he ends up, unfortunately, passing away. So the people that work at the VFW hall or whatever this place is, they go in and look at his things, and they start digging through his backpack, and they find about $70,000 worth of cash in the backpack.
Wow.
Yeah. So
big chunk of change.
Yeah, big chunk of change. This guy really lived really frugally. He didn't have a car, drove everywhere. I don't think he lived in like a great area or anything like that. So they ended up giving the money to his, or I guess it's got to go through probate, but they gave his brother a heads up that like, look, he's got $70,000. So they got to sort out who's going to get the money and whatnot. But I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting for sure. Yeah, probate's the way to go for that, I guess. Yep. Hey, this reminded me of that not homeless man, but the person that was living by adverse possession on that property. Mm-hmm. And then remember the state tried to move him, and we need an update on that. That's been a while.
Yeah, because remember the billionaire guy bought him something?
Yes. Yeah, if a listener knows what's happening with that story, let us know. Otherwise, maybe we'll touch on it in the next episode or so.
Yeah. Yeah, that's River Dave. Dave, do you know?
Yeah,
you guys must all keep in touch, right? It's all the Dave.
All the Daves.
Yeah, it's a network. He's kind of fallen off the grid for a little while.
All right.
I'll circle through the other Daves.
Get the Dave signal up in the sky and figure out what's going on.
Yeah, that's what it is. The giant Dave signal.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Slasher's hiking topic of the week.
All right, stop. So we're going to move into the topic of the week. You wanted to do a refresher on the rules of the game for the 4,000 Club.
Yeah, I did. This came to my mind because when I had planned my tri-pyramids a couple of weeks back, I wanted to take my mountain bike to the base of Scour Trail, and I just wanted to make absolutely sure that I could do that.
Violation.
It is. It's really wild. So we can get into it here, but you can't do it. There's actually 3 conditions for using a bike, and they're next to impossible to meet. So we will post this. It's easy to find. It's just at the 4000footer.org site. And let's go through some of these things. It's a bit verbose. Oh, what are the rules for climbing the peaks? All right, so let's start with this one. Let me know if any of you don't know this, Liz, Dave, Mike, but you must climb on your feet. Was that a surprise?
So far, I'm good.
So far, you're good? Okay.
Okay.
No riding in carriers to and from the summit of each peak
Two for
on the
two.
list.
All right. So these so that's a good call out though. So like for some listeners, like if you're like carrying your baby or whatever like that, they don't get credit. Those little ones, they gotta walk the whole way like Littlefoot does, and
That's
they get
right.
carried or picked up. None of this Floki nonsense where Floki comes and goes off of Mel's back however Floki wants.
Yeah, so Floki's got a lot of work to do, right?
Yeah.
Floki's a little behind, let's just
Although
say.
I think Floki, like Mel said, Floki's been hiking more than riding lately. So
Okay. Oh, man. Let's see. So in winter, skis and snowshoes are cool. The committee takes no official position on the use of sleds or Swiss bobs. I don't quite know what that means.
well, I think what they're referencing is does it count if you use a sled to get down? And it sounds like there's no opinion there, so it counts. You can take a sled down.
Gotcha. Okay. 4 peaks with trails starting at a maintained road. The rule is simple. Drive to the trailhead and then walk. All right. So note, you're not allowed to use the auto roads of Mount Washington, Mansfield, or Equinox. That's pretty self-explanatory. For peaks and areas, go ahead.
So those times that I run up to like the auto road, those don't count as like a 4,000 footer.
Apparently not.
Okay.
Yeah, apparently not. So for peaks and areas with rough logging roads, you may drive as far as you dare with a normal car. That includes 4-wheel drive, but ATVs are not allowed. That's sort of quirky. Yeah, that's quirky. And then we'll get to the mountain bikes in a minute because that's really interesting. You are allowed to count any number of peaks on a single trip and do not necessarily have to end up at the trailhead from which you started. Many peaks are commonly done as a traverse, example, Bonds or the Presidentials. No surprise there, right? Mm-hmm. Pretty reasonable, straightforward. All right, you must do the whole climb in one contiguous trip, which may include an overnight stay in a tent, a shelter, or a hut. For example, you cannot count climbing Monroe from the summit of Washington after a trip up the Cog Railway because you climbed Washington on a past hike, or hike up Cannon and take the tramway down, then come back later, take the tramway up and hike down. That's common sense too. All right, now here comes the kicker. Because everybody has thought about taking a bike down Lincoln Woods Road to get over that dreaded 5 miles of tediousness, or vice versa back.
I was strongly thinking about that as I walked down Lincoln Woods last weekend.
Yeah, and like Livermore Road is 3 miles just to get to the northern portion of the Tries. So it's like, oh man. All right.
Tempting.
So yeah, they just go into the basic thing here that mountain bikes have increased in popularity. They're trying to set these rules here that we'll go over to preserve the tradition of traditional climbing on foot, not on bikes. In winter, they've absolutely forbidden the use of snowmobiles, which is interesting, even when a road is passable to ordinary cars in summer. So that would mean me going to Caps Ridge on my sled wouldn't work, if I read that correctly.
Okay.
So Jefferson Notch Road is open in the summer. It's closed in the winter for snowmobiles. So I guess that's out. Yeah? Anybody?
Are you frozen?
Is this the part where he's a mime?
Yeah. So we may let's give him a second, and then if he doesn't come back in, we're going to stop. And then all right. So I'm going to stop recording right now.
Hey, I'm back.
Hey, Stomp. I'm not
What
recording.
the hell happened? No, it's okay.
I don't know.
I'm still recording on my end, so
Yeah, no, but I'm gonna I'm gonna hit record.
yeah, I'm good because I was just yapping for the last 5 minutes, so it's all good.
Oh, you were.
So I'm just getting to the good stuff. So the mountain biking thing, are you recording now?
Yeah, I'm recording now.
All right. So it's acceptable to use bikes on logging roads that are 1, not part of an officially maintained trail. That's easy. 2, legally open to the general public for car, truck travel on the day of the trip. All right, so that's the killer there. That's a killer for most of the roads that we use. And 3, are fairly easily passable to an average four-wheel drive vehicle, not an ATV, without heroic measures such as winches. So those are the three conditions for using a bike, and it looks like it's a no-go for most of us 4K hikers out there.
Yeah. Just don't use a bike. Don't use a bike.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Is there a time limit? No, there's no time limit. You just have to do some decent notes, though, on your list when you're going to submit your 48 list, because they do look them over and they do check. They look for discrepancies that may be a little fishy. So, there you go. So those are the basic rules.
Yeah, they reached out to me and asked me about, because I did Moosilauke and Tecumseh on the same day, so they asked me like what was the deal with that.
Okay,
I just had a day off and I did 2 hikes.
Yeah, there you go. So them is the rules. Don't you dare break them.
All right, everyone, get out there and get your 4,000 footers done.
Are you ready for Slasher's Gear Review?
So moving on to gear review. So Stomp, I was down in Florida and I got a chance to see, there was 3 rocket launches and I saw 2 of them, but on one of those rocket launches, I think that there was something to do with a Swedish satellite dish, and then apparently, in addition to the rocket launches, there's a news article came out that Starlink is now going to be pushing out a mini dish, which will be coming out later this year. So the dish will be small enough to fit into a backpack, and there's also an upcoming cellular Starlink service, which will offer 7 megabytes per second in bandwidth per cell. And essentially this mini dish that they're talking about is a portable version of Starlink, and it's set to arrive in the coming months. So they'll be introducing the Starlink Mini later this year.
Cool. That
can fit into a backpack. And they did a post on it, so I'll share that with everybody. And apparently in September, the FCC approved SpaceX's application to operate Starlink mini dishes, which it says it's about the size of a MacBook. They've been relatively quiet about like the pricing and the specs and the image of what it's going to look like, but it'll be cool for anyone who wants a very portable Starlink. So think about like RVers, people that are actually, are going to go out for 2-3 days and they want to carry that extra weight. You can bring, something the size of a MacBook out there and get internet connection, which is cool. I mean, I wonder like what the application is going to be.
Yeah.
Potentially for like if the AMC wanted to get better internet connection, or search and rescue teams want to be able to make sure that they've got a secure internet connection. Like this could be huge.
Yeah, for certain cases, yeah. I mean, the size is a little daunting for a hiker, but I could see it if you were going backcountry on a machine or something. That makes sense. Or maybe backpacking.
And I don't know what the range is as far as like where you set the dish up and the Wi-Fi box. Is it 100 feet or 200 feet? But you could definitely see somebody setting up like a command station, maybe higher up on the mountain if you were doing like a longer search, and you've got these dishes and you can be a lot closer to where the search teams are and have reliable internet connection.
Yeah, got it.
So more to come on that.
Yeah, will it be a competitor to Garmin and their smaller units? I
think so. Yeah, it's going to be a competitor for everything. It'll be a competitor for cell phones. It'll be a competitor for even just regular internet service.
Well, as long as the prices come down, because we've been doing a lot of research on the search and rescue end about the Garmin 66Is and all that, and the subscriptions are not cheap.
I think it's like $100 a month for Starlink, and you can't cancel it and pause it, so I'm not using it right now.
Okay, well, Garmin can. It's a cancellation fee, and you can suspend it, but that's a monthly fee as well. So it gets you no matter what you're doing.
Yeah.
We all know that hiking a mountain can be hard at times. So here's a corny dad joke to help you get over it. But
All right, Stomp. This is the part of the show where I do my dad joke. So, why does a dog do so well at school?
Why?
Because it's the teacher's pet.
Oh, dude, I should have known that one. That was right there, low hanging fruit. That was good. What do you think?
Thanks to Lance and
Liz,
Camilla
Dave?
again from my dad jokes book.
Oh man.
Hey, what's that sound? It must be time for the pop culture segment with Mike and Stomp.
All right, Stomp, this is the part of the show where we do pop culture talk. So we've got like 3 or 4 segments here. So Dave wants to talk about Black Mirror. What is going on here, Dave?
Black Mirror is a Netflix series, and it is about basically social media, technology, and it kind of has different stories that play off how it affects society in different scenarios. Some of them are, I do not get uncomfortable, and they made me very uncomfortable. Yeah. They're weird, and some of them are just mind-bending. Oh, yeah. It's a phenomenal series. It's in different levels. I really enjoy it. It's worth checking out.
Yeah, I don't know if we've ever brought it up on the show, but yeah, it's amazing. Like in some of the like future forward looking things that they bring up is like the one that stands out to me is the episode where I think it's Ron Howard's daughter. I think Bryce Howard is her name. She was like essentially like it's like a social credit that people can see. So essentially like every interaction you have with another human being, they'll give you like 5 stars or 4 stars or whatever, and you get an overall rating. And like she did something that like lowered her social score, and she freaked out. And it was this whole thing about like how all this stuff just got taken away from her, because it's very similar to like sort of the like cancel culture and like all the things that you see going on today. And it was like, and I think they were ahead of the curve because that episode came out like 3-4 years ago, and we've seen a lot of that.
That's what I find is that they tend to like almost preempt some of the things that happen in real society before it even happens. There's a great episode with Topher Grace, which was from the 70s show. And the guy who was on, was it Sherlock? The BBC version with Benedict Cumberbatch, which is a great series too. But he was in it, and it's about basically the impacts, the real impacts of using social media, and what can happen. I don't want to give anything away. I'm a ruiner like that, but it's a really like it's hard hitting. Like even my son was watching that. He's 18, and he just kind of was like, "Damn."
Yeah.
It was like, yeah, it hits home.
Yeah,
I think
it's wild. There's another episode too that's really interesting. And Stomp, I don't know. I sort of have this like, I don't know if it's possible or not, but like there's this episode that's kind of like Star Trek, but ultimately like it's essentially like it talks about how the world that we're living in is essentially like a simulation, and it's just repeating like Liz is nodding her head. I think she's a fan of this. So it's just sort of repeating scenarios over and over again around potential like, simulations theory. So instead of us actually living in a world where there's like a god or there's like it's essentially just a computer where we're all just going back and forth through different simulations. So,
yeah, I remember that one.
Makes you think, Stomp.
Yeah, my favorite is Metalhead. That is involving the robot dogs, and they use USBs on their paws to open doors, to turn on cars. Cars are driving by themselves now, but the dogs themselves are armed to the hilt, and they're running around just killing humans. It's so prescient, it's unbelievable. That one was terrifying, and it's literally it's reality now. I mean, it's no doubt about it. All that stuff is totally plausible.
Yeah, so we'll definitely put that in the show notes and encourage people to check out Black Mirror. That's a good call, Dave.
Yeah.
All right, next up here for pop culture, there's a new podcast coming out from Julie Murray. So Julie is the sister of Maura Murray. So Maura Murray, we've talked about her case. She's a missing person that went missing, I believe in 2003, maybe 2004. UMass student that got into a single car accident in Haverhill, New Hampshire, had a brief interaction with the local homeowner, and then police came on the scene. In between her interaction with the homeowner and the arrival of the police, she disappeared, and she hasn't been located or found since. And there's been like multiple podcasts and specials on Oxygen Channel and all these different theories, and it's probably one of the biggest mysteries around. Julie Murray is releasing a new podcast called Media Pressure. And from Julie's perspective, she's taking back the story because she feels like, there's a lot of things that go on around this story that are either misreported or aren't correct. So she's trying to basically take control of the story by releasing this podcast. I follow Julie on TikTok. She's got a lot of good information that she's shared over the last year or two, and I think it's good for her to step in and really get more involved in this. So I'm looking forward to it. So it's called Media Pressure, and it's going to be released, I think, in February.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's sort of cool. I mean, it's nice seeing the family try to jump ahead of the media. The media is, I don't know, so unreliable and clickbait. They're driven by clickbait. You never know what's real with that stuff.
Yeah. And Dave, Liz, do either one of you have sort of a pet theory about Maura Murray, or do you not know enough about it? Any comments?
It's so hard to say. I mean, because I just, what was in her mind before all of that happened, and why was she there in the first place, and what did she pack? Like, a lot of things just don't make sense from that perspective in my mind. Like, it's just, how did she get there might answer where she was going and or where it went wrong and where she landed, but it's hard to wrap your head around it.
Yeah. I don't know if you have any thoughts, Liz.
Yeah, I only know from what I've heard you guys talk about, so I haven't gone down that rabbit hole of looking at more information.
Trust me, if you got stuff going on, don't go down it, because it's a deep one. But I think, Dave, you're right. Like, there was a lot going on in her life personally, and between the relationship she had going on, and her transition from West Point to UMass, and her commitment to the track team, and a whole bunch of different things that factor into this. That it just sounds like she was in a bit of turmoil before she headed out, and who the heck knows what was going on in her mind.
Yeah,
I just hope that we solve the mystery for the sake of the family.
Yeah, I don't have an opinion on that one. It's I'm with you, Liz. It's just too much.
He's sick of me talking about it, so I get it. All right, next up, we got an article here. So, Stomp, we've talked about, remember that guy in Yellowstone that was hiking with his sister, and he went off trail, and he fell into the acid, and he basically all they found was a pinky bone from him.
Exactly.
Remember that? So,
yeah.
The guy that plays 007, Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah, he used to play. Yeah. He's a good-looking Englishman. Yeah, not so much anymore. I'm looking at this picture, and his teeth are a little bit English, I guess.
Stomp! How do you want to get us canceled from all our English listeners?
No, someone just set the bar pretty high. What we can say tonight. That's it.
Oh. Yeah, trust me. I'm like Yellowstone geyser right now. I'm trying to hold in my. I don't know. It's been a weird 48 hours. Let's just say that.
All right. Well, he's got he does have an issue. He's got a little snaggle on the lower tooth, I will admit. But the father picture out, he's got the Indiana Jones hat. He's looking dapper.
Yeah, but he's doing the old "do you know who I am" thing, and that's really annoying.
Well, look, Stomp, you'll never be as good looking as Pierce Brosnan. So just don't be jealous. But anyway, Pierce is in trouble because Pierce decided he was in Yellowstone National Park. I don't know what he was doing, just a vacation, but Pierce decided that he was going to go and wander off into these Mammoth hot springs. And he did this on November 1st. And when you do something like this, especially when you're breaking a law, you want to make sure that it doesn't get out into the media. But unfortunately, he's out there just wandering around these hot acid springs, and he got himself in trouble. So he was cited and fined for wandering off into these hot springs, which are off limits to tourists because they're super fragile and they can take years to correct if damaged. So,
what a guy!
Yeah, let me see, how much did he get fined?
might see a $5,000 fine, it says. Or
he's fighting the charges, too. Yeah, he's fighting the charges.
6 months hard time.
Yeah.
I hope he gets the 6 months hard time. Hard time. What exactly would hard time be for a celebrity?
I don't know. But he's fighting. He should just write a check and apologize.
No kidding, right?
What is wrong with him?
Oh, boy.
I used to like this guy. I'm done.
Yeah.
All right, Stomp. So I got a question for you. We did actually talk about this over text, but if we were in a situation where, and Dave and Liz, like you guys can join in on this too. If say we were flying to Alaska and we got in a plane crash and 2 of us survived, 2 of us died, and we had no other options, would you or would you not eat the people that did not survive?
Well, they can answer first. Dave?
Dave eats dead people.
No one's a vegan, right? You guys aren't vegans.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm not a vegan though.
I'm good then. Yeah, I would. Yeah, I mean, in the situation, if I had to survive, yeah, I mean, somebody's going to be a hot pocket.
Yep. Yeah. Liz, come on.
Liz is like, what did I sign up for here?
Fess up.
The answer to this question determines who I hike with in the future. So go ahead.
Yeah, let's see. No, I know what you're referring. I think if it's a matter of survival, I'd hate to do it.
Yeah,
but
it's either die or eat your passenger, your fellow passengers. So the reason I bring this up is because there's a movie on Netflix, which it's a fantastic movie. It's called Society of the Snow. There's another movie that was out in the 90s called Alive that tells the same story. So it's a story of in 1972, there was a Uruguayan rugby team that crashed in the Andes Mountains, and they were forced to survive for, I think, like 90 days or 60 days or something like that. And there was like 45 people on the plane. I think like 15 of them died on the initial crash. And unfortunately, they had very little food. So they were forced to eat the fellow passengers to stay alive. And eventually, like, they survived like 17 days. I think like 30 of them survived for like 2 weeks. Then they got hit with a brutal avalanche. And I think half of the survivors died in one night because of the avalanche. And then eventually 2 of the survivors were able to hike out into, I think, Chile to get rescue. And ultimately, I think 15 or so of them survived. But yeah, they did have to eat their fellow passengers. So tough situation. But Stomp, I already gave you permission over text that you would certainly be free to eat me if I'm dead. So
I appreciate
harm,
that.
Foul.
Yeah, as a card-carrying Catholic, I did some deeper research on that.
Oh, you did?
And according to the Catholic faith, you can cannibalize if you did not purposely murder the person you're eating. So good to go.
Purposely murder?
Intentionally or purposely, yeah. But if it was no fault,
accidental murder? I'm
like
listening.
Negligence or something like that. Yeah, who knows? Yeah.
Okay, I don't know, loophole.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, you're the priest. You should tell us.
Yeah.
It all depends where you start. So you have to answer that. Which part would you start with? What do you eat first?
Well, I think in the movie they started with the thigh area, like the buttocks and the thigh. So.
This is a great topic. Did you guys ever see The Terror?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, okay. It's a book. It's a HBO miniseries with Jared. Forget the actor's name, but it's a fantastic series. But there's some cannibalism going on in that story as well, with a twist. So highly recommended.
Ooh. Hook.
Okay, so Society of the Snow, and I thought it was a fantastic movie. And sometimes these movies where there's not a lot of movement from one location to the other can go a little bit slow. But this was absolutely a fantastic movie. It is Spanish language, so it's dubbed. But honestly, you can't even notice the dubbing. So it's highly recommended.
I actually just watched it just the other day.
You did,
so
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great movie. So I'll put that in the show notes. And Stomp, I think we're moving on. We've got a sponsor here.
Yeah. Do you have a sweat problem? Sweat can be extremely uncomfortable on the trails. Plus, sweat is a serious risk factor. As your clothes get wet, your core temperature can dramatically fluctuate. This can result in hypothermia, heat exhaustion, and dehydration. We've got good news at Slasher for you. There's a piece of gear that solves the sweat problem. Vaucluse's ultralight ventilation backpack frame. The frame is a backpack accessory that easily installs in your favorite pack, size 15 liters to 65 liters, and creates a ventilating airflow gap between you and your pack. It's also ultralight, weighing less than a pair of socks at just over 3 ounces. Whether you're hiking in hot or cold temps, the ultralight ventilation backpack frame is a real game changer when it comes to airflow and ventilation. So visit VaucluseGear.com to order an ultralight ventilation frame today. Use promo code SLASHER, SLASR, to enjoy a $5 discount. Plus, let them know that Mike and Stomp sent you. Hey, I just got to say, I just stumbled across some videos on YouTube. They're just people reviewing the Vaucluse frame, and they are all positive. Really cool. I'll have to dig them up and show you guys next week. But yeah, great. The word on the street is that this frame is 2 thumbs up, 5 stars.
Yeah, no, I like it a lot. I'll dig those up and put those in the show notes so that we have them.
Yeah, for sure. And we haven't mentioned this in a while, but you can get your free stickers at Ski Fanatics off of Exit 28 in Campton, across from Dunkin' Donuts or adjacent to Dunk's, and at Spinner's Pizza Parlor in Andover, Massachusetts, off Dascombe Road. Say hi to Dolls and Pops for us. And if anybody's out there looking to advertise with us, drop us a line at slasherpodcast@gmail.com. And moving on.
Hey, hold my beer. It's time to find out what Mike and Stomp are drinking on this week's Beer Talk.
All right, this is the part of the show where we talk about if we're drinking beer or not. So,
I love beer.
I think, let's start with, I haven't seen Liz drinking anything, but Dave had, Liz has got something. All right, Liz, why don't we start with you? What do you got going on there? It's a pink, something pink.
Down East cider. I'm trying the pomegranate for the first time.
Pomegranate, yeah. What do you think? Is it good?
I think so. It's not my favorite flavor, but I like it. Yeah.
Is it fruit? I've never had these like sours and fruity things. Is it like sweet or is it?
I think that's what it is. I think it's a little too sweet for me. I don't like it super sweet, but I'm working my way through it.
You're working your way through it. Do you have like a preference? Do you always go with the like the fruit stuff, or do you tend to drink more regular beer?
I don't typically drink beer. I mean, I'll have a Guinness or from time to time. I like what Dave's drinking. You'll hear that in a minute. Or I like myself some whiskey. I thought I'd go with the cider today.
Okay, all right, good call. And Dave, what do you got?
Some people call it a black and green, or they call it a snake bite. It's basically a Down East cider, and then you float Guinness on the top. It's a little flat right now, but then it makes like a lava lamp. But it starts a little bit bitter, and it finishes really, really sweet. It's delicious.
All right, well, that's much more fancy than I think what Stomp has.
Well, yeah. Well, I'm doing my adventurous thing here, so you can see that. Yeah, you got that. So I have.
Is that Kiss?
No, yeah, I don't know what that logo is. It looks like 3 S's. I don't know. I'm not quite sure. I haven't tasted it yet. Hold on. So this is a double IPA, and it's called Modest Man, and it's brewed in Keene, New Hampshire. And check this out. It says, tasting notes. I love this stuff. Single hop galaxy. Candied tropical fruits, juicy peach, subtle darkness, and creamy mouthfeel. Let's see if it lives up to that description, huh?
All right, yeah.
Ass.
All right, I see the logo
certainly
now.
Creamy. That is a creamy mouthfeel. It's almost like a stout.
Moving on. Moving on from Stomp's creamy mouth. I've got a regular Maine Beer Company lunch IPA. So
nice.
How does your mouth feel?
It feels just regular, whatever regular.
Okay, regular mouth. That's good.
Definitely doesn't feel whatever Stomp was talking about. So.
That's good. I just was.
Yeah, no, my wife apparently they sell these at Trader Joe's now. My wife, for some reason, I'm like, why can't you go to Market Basket? But she's got to go to Trader Joe's.
I knew we should have gone left back there.
Stomp, don't worry. I know it's this way. I've got a feeling in my gut.
Are you sure you're not about to have a bowel emergency?
Totally. We got this.
But I just blew out my hip. Fell down that gully with my 40-year-old microspikes.
Suck it up, Stomp. It's 4 p.m. We're at 3,500 feet. We got 9 miles back to the parking lot. Your leg may be broken. We got no cell connection, and we can't feel our fingers. But we're finishing all of my list tonight. By the way, I need some water. I'm empty.
I would if I could see what I'm doing, but my headlamp batteries are dead.
You gotta be kidding me. What a chump. This is the last time I hike with you.
Ha, whatever, mister.
Do you know me? I have a podcast.
Whatever.
Let's find out what Mike and Stomp have been hiking.
All right. And now moving on to the part of the show where we talk about recent hike Stomp. So it looks like you went, did you go butt sledding down Cannon? Is that what's going on?
No, that wasn't me. But yeah, this was my number 28 out of the Winter 48. I went up Kinsman Ridge Trail. It was mint. I bare booted the whole way up without traction. I put my traction on for the way down, like a 3-hour turnaround for the whole trip. It was really nice. It was super cloudy for most of the trip out at the summit. It broke and it just made for a really nice hike. A little bit cold, but I bumped into Andy and Sandy Cannon on the way up. And
oh, nice.
Yeah, they were doing good, and it was great to see them. There's some of the reckless people, and Andy, he's like, yeah, I was butt sledding. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Where did you do that? And he's like, oh, you'll see. So when you get up past the glades of that ski trail that sort of zips back and forth over Kinsman Ridge Trail, there's that junction where you go left, and it's just the last quarter mile up to the first overlook. It was completely flat from Andy's butt sled mark, and I couldn't believe how long the track was. I had not considered that section for butt sledding, and butt sledding is something we haven't talked about recently, but this is a great spot for it. Other sections that come to mind would be, Liberty. Liberty's a fantastic butt sledding area, and so anyway, yeah, that's my hike. But you guys have any butt sled favorite locations?
South Hancock, number 1.
Oh, yeah, good call. That's a steep one.
Yeah,
that's definitely a steep one.
Yeah.
So coming off Palm, the long slide. Come off past Avalon, that long slide along the.
Oh,
you get some good speed up in that.
For sure.
I've heard.
Valley Way. I've had some runs on Valley Way that go for like 3 or 4 minutes. Like the lower part of Valley Way is pretty good. Mm-hmm. The Cog, also Lance and Camilla, they brought like the Euro sleds. Yeah. And they went from like basically. Not Jacob's Ladder, but like where the skiers all go up to, halfway mark, and they went all the way down on their butt sleds in like 10 minutes. So, yeah, there's good options.
Super fun. That's a great time.
I tried fishing Jimmy by accident. It was more of a plinko.
Yeah.
It wasn't much of a slide.
Well,
so how about you, Mike?
I took the crew out to Owl's Head, so I had a good crew of the Jakester and Peter and Steve, who's the guy that I met last year on the Carters, and then Nick joined us as well, and Mike Keene. So it was great crew, and we went out to Owl's Head. It was pretty uneventful. It's just a long day. It's 18 miles.
What was your route?
So we did, basically you break this hike up into like 4 sections. So you've got Lincoln Woods, which is about 2.5 miles. Then you take the Black Pond Trail, and the second section is essentially like Black Pond Bushwhack. The one thing I did screw up on was I missed the actual real Black Pond Bushwhack, and I went to this other like unmarked trail. It's basically like you can go left of the drainage or you can go right of the drainage. I unfortunately went right of the drainage and then picked up the Bushwhack again, so it was no big deal. But so that's the second part, is basically the Black Pond Bushwhack. That's about 2.5 miles. Then you get on to Lincoln Brook Trail, which is basically a flat trail. You've got a couple of water crossings, and I think that's maybe about 1.5 miles or so, 2 miles. And then you get to the Brutus Bushwhack. So we did not go up the slide. We didn't go that far down Lincoln Brook. we went up the Brutus Bushwhack, which is essentially going up like the southern end of Owl's Head. And I think Mike had broken trail up to the connection to the Owl's Head path, and then I took over from there. But yeah, we had to break trail. So we bare booted from Lincoln Woods, Black Pond, Lincoln Brook. I didn't even put spikes on. Everything was just pretty much packed out, or there was like minimal snow. And then from the Brutus Bushwhack, it was like pretty heavy snow, believe it or not. It was like crusty, and then we hit 3,500 feet, and then it was like soft powder. So we put our snowshoes on at the bottom of the Brutus section and then made our way up. But it was steep. Steep. And then, yeah, we just had lunch at the summit and then reverse course and came back. No issues with the water crossings. Everything's bridged over.
Okay.
We sent our heaviest guy over first, and he had no problem, so we're good to go. I wrote on the New England Trail conditions. I was like, water crossings, no problem. Just send your least favorite hiker in your group over and have them test it out. So,
that's hilarious.
yeah. So,
good stuff.
But no, it's a good one. I'm at 43 of 48 for the winter 4,000 footer. And then I had an epiphany on this hike. I've got to do the Zealand Bonds Traverse to finish up the winter 48. And I decided, like originally I was like, I'll do it on a single day. I think I'm just going to stay over at Zealand. Like I'm not interested in doing a death march like that. So,
yep. How come you didn't do the slide? You just didn't want to risk going up the slide in the winter?
No, not so much. It was just like it was cloudy, it was snowing a little bit, and there was no view. So, and I had never done Brutus, and I was like, oh, let's just do something different. So, if there was a view and the like blue skies, and then maybe I would have gone up the slide to get a little bit of that view out into Franconia Ridge, but it wasn't going to happen.
Well, that was the day the squalls are coming in too.
By the end of the day, the squalls were coming in crazy. So when we got to like Black Pond, it started coming down like crazy. And it was like the roads in Lincoln were really bad. Driving home that night, oh my gosh. Was that Sunday night? Was any of you guys out on the road? Like there was like 6 accidents.
It was terrible everywhere. Yeah, it was awful up here.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. So, I was white knuckling it. But, that's it for recent hike stop.
All right, cool. Let's see. So, Fieldstone Kombucha, New England's premier craft kombucha company. If you're in the heart of New England, you need to drink a New England-style kombucha. Softer, less acidic, and truly enjoyable. Our kombucha is naturally effervescent and boasts full-bodied flavor. Fieldstone crafts the best seasonal flavors. When we tell you there's blueberries in our Baby Bandit flavor, it nearly turns your tongue blue. Women owned and operated, we brew in Rhode Island using whole, locally sourced ingredients. Fieldstone Kombucha is the perfect replenishing drink after a day on the slopes or a trek in the woods. It's chock full of probiotics and healthy acids to keep you in top form. Find us at Biederman's in Plymouth, Mad River Coffee House in Campton, the Concord Food Co-op, and more. Check out our website for the full list of New Hampshire and New England-wide locations. Use code SLASHER, SLASR, on our website for 10% off an online order shipped straight to your door. So that's FieldstoneKombuchaCo.com. I've been having them. They're great at Mad River Coffee. They have like 3 or 4 different flavors available there, so definitely check them out.
Nice, Stomp. You can, if you mixed the beer that you're drinking and then a Fieldstone kombucha, you can have a creamy mouth and a blueberry tongue.
Right. And a happy belly from all those probiotics. Belly. That's a healthy lifestyle, right there.
You want to eat when you're hiking.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. What would you start with first, though? Would you go ready for the stomach?
I think I'm a calf guy.
Probably.
Yeah, lungs.
I would suggest go for the stomach.
I don't know. I think I'm a calf guy. I go with the calf. It's like,
Yeah.
Oh, God.
It's time for Slasher's Notable Hike of the Week. If you want to be considered for the Hike of the Week, simply tag Slasher on your social media post.
So, Stomp, this is the part of the show where we do notable listener hikes of the week, and I think this is the first time that we've ever had a notable listener hike with a guest.
Yeah. Some guy named.
I am the Susan Lucci of notable hikes. Just for the record, I never the notable hike. Look at the competitions. That's all I'm going to say before you read them. Look at the competition again.
Yeah, and I think the problem is that here's the issue, Dave, is that you do awesome hikes, but there's a lot of times they're very obscure, even to like me and Stomp. I'm like, where the hell is this guy hiking? So, although I feel like you should have gotten you did that hike at the end of what's that road that goes out to Percy Peaks and all that stuff there? Was that you?
Oh, the Nash Stream.
Yeah. Didn't you do the end of I should have given it.
We did the Longs and Mews and Whitcomb and a bunch of stuff out there in the trip.
Right, so I don't know, maybe Littlefoot was doing something that week and you got knocked out.
I'm sure she was, and someone completed their 48 and somebody else was on Everest, and it didn't matter. It didn't matter.
All right.
He's just a little sore because I think you picked me for the notable hike of the week last spring when I did the Crawford Ridgepole Traverse, the Squams. I did the Squam Traverse, 13 miles, and
and she made up a shirt that she said "notable hiker," and I had to follow it, and look at it the whole trip.
Oh, that's great. That's great. All right, so Stomp, we need to just make a pledge, we will never ever get. He's going to be the Susan Lucci for infinity.
That's it. I run her up.
That's hilarious.
Always the unnotable hiker, never the notable hiker.
Yeah. So for the listeners, this is so Dave, who goes by Dave Shits in the Woods, is with us, and he's consistently always puts in for notable listener hike of the week. And apparently, I didn't know this, but he's never won. So, which I think is hilarious. And we're going to keep that streak going.
Awesome. Keeping Kleenex in business with all the tears over here. That's all I'm saying.
Well, we have we have a Dave Shits posted. So Melvin Hill, Dave.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, East Springfield Mountain. On a second tag, you did Crotchet Mountain and Morgan Pond Mountain. Very cool, Dave. Very cool.
Liz accompanied me in 3 of those. So it was a good trip.
Here comes some hikes by some little people. So sorry, Dave.
Yeah.
So
here we go. Listen, number 1.
Littlefoot Hiking Adventures did Liberty Flume for 43 of the Winter 48, and then Osceola's for 212 out of the grid and 407 out of the grid for Mimi. Let's see. So we have Carrie Burrell opted for North Kearsarge over Adams due to the frigid temps. That was this last Sunday. Cameron Casey 3 did Star King. And then, of course, your crew from Owl's Head Mike, you had Ginger Baird Keene. That was his number 8. Nick Hikes and Plays Guitar. That was his number 27 for the Winter 48. And that's all I have from there. So there you go. So any winners?
Yeah, Littlefoot.
I knew it was not. Did I get a vote?
There's no vote. I just declare the winner, and it's not Dave Shits in the Woods.
Oh, Mike, I think Dave dropped. Is he still with us? I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I can't hear him.
So. That's fun. Yeah. Although I should have given my own crew notable. I guess I can't though. I can't.
Yeah, insider trading.
I wrote a speech and everything. It's just I'm just going to keep changing the date.
Well, I mean, so we might as well just get into. So we'll just move into your segment. So Dave and Liz, are you ready? Are you ready for this? This big moment. Okay.
Sure.
You've been studying the script, I hope, right? Okay.
It's time for Slasher's Guest of the Week. Very cool. Very cool.
All right. So this is so we're doing a listener spotlight. We've got Dave and Liz here. So we want to welcome them for this listener spotlight. So again, they're experienced local hikers. They frequently get out to some of the more obscure areas of the Whites in pursuit of the 100 highest and the 500 highest lists, then a bunch of different lists. They get a lot of experience. So they are part of this secret cult of the 500 highest that Stomp's involved with. It's kind of like an Illuminati group that's run by Stomp, I think. Yeah. But Stomp, can you give a little bit of background? So you were the one that had sort of reached out and I think organized this whole evening here. So can you talk a little bit about how you've got to know both Liz and Dave?
Sure. Well, you two have both caught my attention individually and then as a peer for your just pretty prolific work on the 500 list in particular. So I've been paying attention, and your Dave in particular, your descriptions of the hikes that you do are really awesome too. And just both of you seem like really cool folks to come in, and we try to bring in listeners every now and then just to break things up and give the listeners some idea of who's out there and what they're doing and what they're all about. So we thought you two would be a really great addition, and thanks for agreeing to come on despite how poorly we treat Dave. We really appreciate it.
Yeah. Great hikes, not notable, just great hikes.
Yeah, whatever. Whatever, Stomp, whatever.
And also for the listeners, just to give the listeners a heads up, Dave has one of those when you defeat all the other IPA bros beard, he's got like the final boss version of that.
Clip on.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm working on mine. It's not working that very well. But so Liz, why don't we start with you? Why don't you introduce yourself? Can you talk a little bit about your background? Talk a little bit about how you got into hiking and outdoor activities and all that fun stuff?
Sure. I am not someone who grew up hiking. I actually grew up in Western New York near Niagara Falls. Transplanted here after college with my husband and late 90s. And that's when I started hiking because there's really cool places to hike. Pounced around a bit, and then we had kids, so didn't hike as much. I got into running a lot. Ran everything, everything from 5K to marathons. And then when the kids were a little bit older, I started dragging them out for hikes. They liked it. They didn't like it, that kind of thing. So then I decided to do it myself. And started poking around with smaller hikes. And then Dave introduced me to the 4,000 footers. And then it kind of took off after that. And I really got into hiking. Not so much running anymore, but a lot of hiking.
So similar trajectory to me. Like I sort of the same background, like was a big runner and then got into hiking. And what date did you really start getting into hiking around the Whites? Was it was it the 90s or the 2000s?
No, it was later. Like I just for a long time, it was just little things like Monadnock and Pack Monadnock and Mount Major. And it wasn't till 2016, 17, 18, somewhere in there, I started doing more and more. And then after COVID, I just took that's all I did.
Yeah. Did you, were you mostly a day hiker or did you get into backpacking and overnight stuff pretty quickly?
Yeah, I started with the day hiking, and then my very first backpacking trip was with Dave and another friend of mine. Izzy and I finished our 4,000 footer list on a backpacking trip when we did the Bonds as a backpacking trip, and we actually kind of did a loop in the Pemi. So Dave introduced us to backpacking on that trip, and then found that I really enjoyed that as well. So I've done other trips since then.
And how did you and Dave meet?
Our kids went to school together. So PTO. He was the PTO president when our kids were in middle school.
The story. This is cool. The face of the PTO. And I applied to be, on the cover of PTO Monthly, and nothing. Just same story, same thing. Got beat up by everyone.
It's honestly not a bad move because you get to meet all the moms.
If you want to go that route, I was being the more protective parent and not, it's a creeper-ish. I'm just saying, but yet I can't confirm that I was. Anyhow, the long and short is I met the kids I didn't want my kids hanging out with, which was kind of cool. Yes. But I also met the moms that were very nice to talk to, which was wonderful,
Yeah, that's actually how we met.
That's good. So it became like a spinoff. Oh, that's great. And so he must not have given off too many creepy vibes then if you were like willing to go out into the woods alone with him.
He actually...
There was no Bill Cosby going on, I'm just saying.
No, and then he's a handyman, and I hired him to do some tiling in a bathroom, and we became friends, and he'd tell me about his hikes, and then he invited me to hike Cannon, like summer 2020, and I'd already done a couple 4,000 footers, but with my family, and that's when I decided that I wasn't going to do the 4,000 footer list at all. Nope. I said it on that hike I wasn't going to do it, and then I did it.
Was it like a thing that you, so for me, like I was obsessive about it, like, I got to do all, and I ended up expanding it to like the 52 with the view and the 25, but did you do it very deliberately once you started going, or was it just more casually?
Oh no, it was very deliberate.
Yeah, okay. You get the same personalities, it sounds like. And did you start off with just like sort of 3-season hikes, or did you get into winter hiking pretty quickly?
I got into winter hiking pretty quickly because David already finished his 4,000 footer list when he introduced me to the list, but he'd started working on his winter 4,000 footer, so he took me out that winter on a test, like just before winter, Liberty and Flume, which was the most horrid hike ever because the conditions were horrible, like really soft, loose snow, raining. And I decided I wanted to do it again, like do something else. And I think our second one was that the Hale hike? I think then we did the Twins.
It was the Fire Warden's path that was not found.
Yeah, we had an accidental. Our first bushwhack was accidental. Was a winter hike of Hale via Fire Wardens, but we never found Fire Wardens. So Dave's like, let's just bushwhack up Hale.
Yeah. Like, it's reasonable, honestly. It's like, I mean,
it really is.
Yeah, and aside from it being a really windy day and the big trees swaying above my head kind of freaked me out a little bit, we made it to the top. So that was our first bushwhack. We found the Fire Warden's path to come down it.
Yeah. It's very. Was this in the winter or was this in regular 3 season?
It was winter. It was in late December, early January, and then so as he was working on his winter list, I did winter Owl's Head, my first winter 4,000 footers. So yeah,
oh, wow.
So I like that. Really... I fell in love with it. Yeah.
Wow. I just want to go back to one thing that you had talked about, because this has nothing to do with hiking, but like I get this every once in a while, like people at work will get married and they'll, everybody, we have this like thing where we'll talk about like, okay, what's the advice that you want to give somebody for like a good marriage or like, life advice. And I always say, and actually me and my wife, like we were able to find Ken as our handyman. And I mean, this guy does like electrical and plumbing, and he does carpentry, and he does windows. And and what I tell people is that if you can find a good handyman that has the ability to do like a bunch of different things, like that is one of the keys to a successful marriage. It's a key to a good life, because you build that relationship, like it saves you so many headaches if you have that person that you can call when the furnace goes out and that they can tweak it, or you got to get a window or a door put in. So I don't know if you found that with Dave or not. Certainly you got a lot of hiking experience, but
yeah. I mean, my husband's pretty handy. He does a lot. Yeah. He does a lot of our electrical, but some of the construction type stuff that Dave can do. We have a new kitchen. We have a couple of things that Dave's. Of course, I help him out with a lot of stuff because I'm pretty handy. Not as handy as Dave, but I like the painting, and
that's what I do. Ken's like, I don't paint, and I'm like, I got it. So.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, so then you complete your 4,000 footer. Like, did you feel empty afterwards, or did you feel like, all right, there's more here, I'm going to do additional lists, or I've got like plans to do other things, or what was your thought around like once you finished it up?
I had already found the 52 with a view as I was kind of finishing up the 4,000 footer list. I did have a little bit of a letdown on that backpacking trip, because it's like, wow, okay, that list is done. But I jumped right into the 52 with a view, finished that like a year later, and then I was poking around I think David already found the highest 100 list, and I joined him on some of those hikes, and then I discovered there were 500. I'm like, all right, I could work on this list for a long time, which is exactly what I wanted. It's got great ideas for hikes, lots of obscure stuff, and I'm not in as big of a rush to finish this one because it's going to take a while, but I have plenty to choose from.
Yeah, that's fair. And then are you no hesitation about going out on your own solo hiking?
Not at all. I started the solo thing slowly. Like I didn't just go out and do a 4,000 footer by myself. Like I think my first solo hike was Willard because it's pretty safe. And I started small. And then I think right after Dave and I did Cannon with a couple other friends, I decided to do the Osceolas by myself and the Hancocks. And I lived to tell the tale. So I'm like, all right, I can do this. I'm a very prepared person. I was a Girl Scout. I was a Cub Scout leader. Like I get the being prepared part. So I remember a hike I did. I was doing Carrigan, and a friend of mine's like, I don't know if I feel comfortable you hiking by yourself. So I emptied my pack out and I showed her everything I had in the pack. She's like, okay, I feel much better.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think of that too. Like this weekend, I carried more than I should have, but I was also like, all right, if something goes down, then I can wait it out for a little while. So it is tough. But as far as like your access to information, so you got Dave as a sounding board. It sounds like he was a little bit ahead of you as far as like his experience hiking. Did you over time, like, are you a researcher online or do you just rely? You do, yeah.
Absolutely, lots of research. The different sites, like finding out what other people have hiked, what especially in the winter, what's been broken out. The different. I like there's a Facebook page for the 100 to 500 highest. There's some good information on there. So I do a lot of research, look at the weather, like all those kinds of things. I'm constantly going down rabbit holes of ideas for hikes. Yeah.
I do the same thing. And then as far as like favorites, if you could sort of identify, it could be anywhere, but do you have any favorite areas of the Whites that you like to go to? Any favorite mountains, any favorite routes that you've taken that you want to highlight to the listeners?
Yeah, I hate it when people ask me this question because there's something about every hike that I enjoy, so it's kind of hard to say, oh, this mountain's my favorite. Yeah. But I was looking at the lists and saying, like, with the 52 with the views, I think the Bald Faces and the Moats are my favorite. I really enjoy those areas. I love that Bald Face. Royce's, like that side of the state's kind of neat. I don't get there as often, but I really like that area. I think I really enjoyed my hike up Jefferson because I did it Caps Ridge and I did it solo before the road was open. Like I had to walk in the road. It was that 1 year where like they kept saying it was going to open. It was one of the last roads to open. I don't know why. And I'm like, It's May. I can hike this. And it was an awesome hike. And I really enjoyed when Dave and I hiked Dartmouth because we had no idea we were going to get a view. I guess it wasn't Dartmouth itself. It was our approach to Dartmouth. What's the peak, Dave, is it Millen Hill?
Yeah. Millen Hill.
Yeah. Like you poke out and you can see the presidentials. It's so cool. Like we had no idea. And those little happy surprises sometimes on the bushwhacks where you get a view and you're not expecting it.
Oh yeah, it's awesome.
Are awesome.
Do you, as far as the gear that you use, can you talk about like what's your backpack? What do you tend to use for like trail runners or boots? And anything you want to give advice as far as the listeners?
I have a couple Ospreys depending on the time of year. I have the 50 for the winter. Yeah. And then the, like 28, 32, something like that for the summer. I'm not an ultralight pack person because I like the frames that the Osprey have. I discovered trail runners and love them to death and will wear them as long as my feet don't get too cold. So like all summer. And then as soon as it starts to get cold, I have to wear regular hikers. But because I have Raynaud, so I struggle with the fingers and the toes. And the winter boots are the Keen Rebels, I think, the 40 below boat boots. I learned something very important. I had a pair for 2 years that were a little tight, and I really struggled with cold toes I finally decided just to buy the next size up, and I have had no problems.
Right. I tell people this all the time. I'm like, don't double up on socks. Like, circulation is the key.
Yeah.
It's, loose is better.
Yeah, it's been a game changer this winter. I suffered for 2 years in those boots.
What do you do with with your hands? What do you do to manage that? Like, do you have have you been able to do you just deal with it, or do you have tricks to actually keep your hands warm?
It's a process. I have, I usually have hand warmers, I have glove liners, and then I have an overglove. And it's a process of I have to constantly pull my hands out when I'm especially going uphill to keep them from sweating too much, but then I have to tuck them in as soon as they're cold. But the hand warmers in there help a lot. And for the most part, I can manage it. It's just a lot of gloves on, gloves off, gloves on, gloves off. I can never have my gloves off for too long in the winter.
So guys, it's safe to say, if we're in a cannibalistic situation, we're not starting with Liz's fingers.
We're going back to this?
Well, unless you want charcuterie.
Oh.
It could be like a cold platter, drink some cheese and do the cold cuts.
That's true. Yes, it's true.
That's not a bad idea. Well, let me ask you this, Liz. So when you hike with Dave, and I've got this problem with a lot of my friends, I'm the picture taker. I end up taking 100 pictures and they'll take 5 pictures. Are you the picture taker, or is Dave the picture taker?
We both take a lot of pictures. He takes more than me, which is really funny. So in my former life, I was an art teacher and my focus was photography.
Yeah, I see the photos in the background there.
Yeah, and so for him to for anybody to take more pictures than me is a huge deal.
Yeah, because we don't talk about that enough. It is important. If you're going to have and people connect with, through hiking buddies or whatever, they connect with these hiking partners. You really need to keep an eye out for the volume of picture taking that goes on.
There's a lot
that's
of
important because I want people to take pictures of me, so I have they can send me pictures. So, but it sounds like you guys have that covered. Any plans for do you get out of New England? Are you going to hike anywhere else outside of the area, or are you mostly just focused on New Hampshire? Do you go to Vermont, Maine, anything like that?
Obviously mostly New Hampshire. My parents for a long time lived in Colorado, so though I never did a 14er, I did a lot of hiking in the Front Range, kind of where they lived. I am going to Utah in April with a friend of mine. She lives in Florida. So she doesn't get out much to hike, but she does enjoy it. So we're going to go to Utah for a week and do some hiking in Utah, which I've never done before. It's one of the few states I haven't been to. I've done some hiking in Vermont. I'm planning for a couple of days on the Long Trail in late May, early June with a friend of mine. I think I'm also going to be going to Maine, maybe. We've been talking about possibly going for couple days in Maine. So yeah, I bounce around.
And are you are you mostly a weekend hiker, or do you have luxury to sort of hike midweek, or how does that work?
I stay away from the weekends as much as I can. I like midweek hiking. It's just lovely.
All right. Are you you don't have to disclose this, but what do you do for work that allows you to do midweek hiking?
I call myself a retired stay-at-home mom. My youngest just went to college, so I have a freshman and senior in college right now. So I worked as a teacher, then part-time, and then basically stayed home with them. So I do this, and I've gotten into volunteering thanks to you guys.
Okay.
I adopted a trail after listening to you guys, and I also got involved with NESA, New England Healing Sports Association. So I volunteer with adaptive skiing.
Excellent. So you're keeping busy.
That's great. Thank you.
Yes. So
awesome. All right. Well, the last question I have for you, and then we'll move on to Dave here, is have you had any issues as far as safety goes? And then do you have any thoughts or advice? Obviously you listen to this podcast and we talk about hikers getting in trouble and some of the basic things that you can do to sort of mitigate those situations. Do you have any thoughts or comments or advice for people around safety when it comes to hiking?
Yeah, I've never really been in a situation where I've worried for my safety or thought about maybe I'd have to call search and rescue or limp out on my own. I haven't had any of those issues. I stress, being overly prepared. I carry probably more than I need to, the 2 headlamps. And every time I hike, I feel like I'm adding something else to my pack because I realize, that would be really good in case I need it. And this other hiking friend of mine, Izzy, she's a college student that I've kind of watched grow up, and I dragged her out hiking because she started the 4,000 footers with me, and she was 18 at the time. And I've worked her through learning, what more she needs to bring with her because she used to bring her snacks and her water. And
and then rely on you for everything else. Right?
Exactly. So, yeah. And she's gotten into, she's trained in wilderness first aid. She's a, outdoor leader at her school. Like, she's really gotten into it. So it's been fun to kind of pass the information on to somebody.
Yeah. Do you think your kids will ever get into it like you are?
My youngest, absolutely. He's big into skiing. He's into hiking. He wants to join me for a backpacking trip this summer. So I'm, kind of now passing that on to him as well, which is nice.
Yeah. It seems like that way. Like I got 3 and one of them it hit. The other ones are like, no. But who knows? Maybe they'll change their perspective as they get older. So
yes, he really likes anything on the Terrifying 25 list.
Okay.
Yeah. That's his jam for sure.
Yeah, that's a good one. So you get the young guys with the adrenaline, right?
Yep.
All right, Stomp. Anything else for Liz before we talk to Dave?
No. I'll ask a couple questions at the end.
Okay, sounds good. So Dave, we learned a little bit about you. So the way you became, obviously, your username on Instagram is Dave Shits in the Woods, and that sort of obviously stands out because it's pretty unique. But I feel like more and more of my friends or people that I've seen have these verb-based usernames on Instagram. So I don't know, were you the one that invented this, or did you just hop on the trend early?
It's all me.
It's all you.
I create it, and actually, if you have the pause in the wrong spot, I'm actually a singer-songwriter. Okay. It's Dave's Hits in the Woods. So it's kind of awkward. I didn't want to correct you,
you could have told us that like a year ago. So
I know, but I'm not a notable hiker, and you had to suffer a little too. So there it is.
I'm going to continue to say Dave Shits in the Woods. But anyway, so my friend Steve.
No, it is a dietary issue. It is a spastic colon issue. It is an earned title. Unfortunately, it is an action. Yep. If people want to follow suit, yeah. They could probably come up with better action names than that, but it's not.
It's a good trend. And matter of fact, my friend Steve, who he has an Instagram page that the theme is essentially he'll take various food. He took snowballs, those pink Hostess things. They're disgusting. But he took one of and he'll take a bite out of the food and then take a picture of the food with the landscape background or whatever. So he was originally Steve something or other, but he changed his name to Steve Eats Shit, meaning I'll just eat shit. So in response to you,
I can give him my trail reports if he wants.
Yeah. So anyway, but why don't you introduce yourself and talk a little bit about your background? So here's a couple of things we've already learned. So we know that you're a handyman. We know that you started hiking, it sounds like, a little bit before Liz, and apparently you're a priest. So can you you were a former priest. Okay.
One of those is true. Yeah, one of those is false, I should say. It's like that game, you know what I mean?
Yes, yeah. 2 truths and a lie. Yeah.
The priest is a policy. I mean, the PTO is true.
Yeah.
But he has hiked as Jesus.
Yes, we did a Halloween hike up Mount Israel, and I was dressed as Jesus, and there were people crowding the summit, and I tried to ask them to part and then criticize them for not really singing in church, and that my father was watching them. Yeah. There was a lot of discomfort. It was a lot of fun.
Do you find so I get this, I feel like I creep people out. I'll have conversations with people on summits and I feel like I give off creepy vibes. So I don't always get a good reaction, but do you tend to get a good reaction when you talk to strangers on the summit?
It depends on the situation. We were on one of the hikes I forget what it was. They asked me to take the picture. And
white face or plastic on.
Yeah, and it was, it's launched the whole like, wow, that's really, good for you to handing your camera to somebody with ankle monitors. And everybody's face just froze and looked down and then back up and kind of half laughed. And I was like, yeah. So, yeah,
That's awesome.
I mean, generally, yes. And when they do get uncomfortable, I just tell them, hey, I have a podcast. My name's Mike. You guys should check it out. It's really good.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Well, can you talk about? So we didn't get to introduce you yet, but we'll get to that, I guess. But like, when did you discover the podcast? And can you talk about like sort of your impressions? I'm kind of curious because you've been like a listener for a long time.
Yeah, it was actually when we were doing the Watcher. Liz and I had gone up the Watcher, and we were trying to do a loop. We usually do that around Columbus Day or whatever. They go up that way. And she was telling me about this podcast with these two guys and they're down to earth and all that stuff. And I was like, okay, yep, I'll check it out. And then it was like, kept coming up. I'm like, yeah, I'll listen to it eventually. And then I listened and I was like, oh, I should have listened longer. And I started listening. And it was like the third or fourth episode when you had Chaga on and all these clues started clicking. I'm like, I know him. I'm like, from hockey. And I was like, wait a minute. So I pinged him. I'm like, do you know so-and-so? And he's like, yeah, man. I'm like, nice. So it kind of came full circle. And then I just started listening to more podcasts. And then I heard about the notable hikes. We won't dig at that scab right now. And it just each episode progressed. And I liked, what I really like and still enjoy about the show is the diversity that, like, you're not only getting the message out, but you're encouraging people to do different things. And I think that's fantastic because the White Mountains are just huge. And beyond the Whites, the state of New Hampshire, Vermont, Maine, there's so many things to do and see.
Yeah, and I think that's why Stomp like pushed to like let's get Dave and Liz on, because I think that's like one of the things that I tend to be more of like the traditional, like the 4,000 foot is 52 with a view, but Stomp keeps it honest, and you guys also as well. Like you're getting out into the little corners of the Whites, which is awesome. So we're glad to have you here. But why don't you so you know Jimmy Chaga, so that's interesting. But
I lost a few points there. Yeah, I get that. Yeah. Sir James Chaga III, as he likes to be called. That's
he's a great guy. Matter of fact, he's responsible for building.
Yeah, he's put me out of business. I mean, I can't even get work.
Yeah.
Nice guy.
He's great. But so give us a little bit of your background. How did you get into hiking, outdoor stuff, and start from when you were a little kid?
Yeah. Okay. Well, it started when I was 2. No, I'm kidding. My dad was kind of outdoors. We used to go fishing out in the back. We had a quarry near us, and it was a trail, but it was more of a bushwhack. You go out, we'd fish. It was untouched territory. You'd catch monster fish, but it was more the walk and the time spent with him. And he's still with us. I don't want to make it sound like a sad story. He's still with us, which is awesome. And he's still super active. He geocaches all that. He was actually having a heart attack when he was geocaching. So a whole other story. He's still great. It's fantastic. But we used to do a lot of that. We camped out in Western New Hampshire, and every year we would go do Mount Monadnock. And we did it because we were bribed with Pizza Hut afterwards in Keene. So we'd pile in the van, go to Pizza Hut with the old, the red cups, the old school Pizza Huts, and you'd sit and look at the mountain you just hiked, and it was kind of cool. You just did that. And we did that for years. Then you get to the teenage years, and I didn't want to do anything, and then got a job in corporate America. I was an accountant for 10 years, so I just drank and got fat, and I was killing that for a while. Moved away from that, got active again, got back on the ice, started trying to run, but I can't because I'm built like plywood. I don't run. So I kind of found different things to do, and by chance, my wife and I went to one of her friends' weddings, and I started talking to the groom, and he was a big hiker, younger than me, and he said he can't ever get anybody to go hiking. They all say they want to, they never do. And I said, well, I'd love to go. I do some hiking. And sure enough, we did Cardigan. We went down to Fire Screw, and we found the grotto. It's just really cool. And we just connected. We started hiking a ton. And that's kind of when I really got into it. My wife had bought me the White Mountain Guide, and I was like, all right, cool. There's bigger mountains in there. I should check that out. And I started doing a bunch of hiking with Josh. He kind of taught me a lot about everything. Name it. Trails, starting fires, camping, dehydration, hypothermia, firsthand, all that stuff. When people say experience, they always think it's knowledge. Sometimes it's really shitty experience that kind of shapes you, and that's how you learn. That's how you get better. Nobody wins at hiking. You don't become a great hiker. You learn. He was awesome about that. And I just kind of took it from there and got into the 4,000s. Josh, we finished the 4,000s, and then it was later in 2000 something, I think it was. He came down with relationship-itis, and then unfortunately we lost him to marriage a couple years ago. Yeah, so I don't hike with him as much.
It happens.
It does. Yeah. I actually got to officiate the wedding, which was fantastic. They get married on Willard. So I got to do the ceremony up there and that, which was really cool. The whole group went out and we did the ceremony and that. And
was that logistically, like, it's a pretty straightforward? I mean, Willard's a small hike and everyone's a hiker. So, but was there anybody in either one of the families that was kind of like, oh man, I can't make it up here, or was it no problem there?
No, it worked out great. Everybody was. She has older kids, and everybody went kind of half dressed up. Not necessarily they put the dresses on at the top, went in the woods, came back out. Did the ceremony, and
so he is a priest. Mike.
I was. See, I guess technically it goes full circle. I guess that day I was.
Yeah, you should connect with Mike Cherim and just back him up in case if he ever had to pull out of a wedding.
There you go. I can go flying in. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
So after Josh didn't hike as much, I did a lot of solo stuff, and I was just plugging away at the list, the 4,000s, and then the winter, and then, like I said, we crossed paths with Liz and doing work, and then talking about hiking, and I was like, okay, and of course, you're kind of guarded, like, okay, yeah, sure, let's go up this mountain and see how you do, without saying, let's see how you do, and then, okay, let's see how you do in these conditions, because you don't want somebody out there that, is going to get you killed and eat you, so... you got to be very selective. So anyhow, it all came together, and then I hiked a bunch with Liz, and I still do a lot of solo stuff. I just keep at it, keep active.
With the list that you pursue, so you got the 500, you got the 100, you got the 67, you got all these. Do you? I've found that, like, obviously with the winter 4,000 footers, I plan them out a little farther ahead of time. But like when it comes to just regular hiking, I almost just pick like a couple days before. Or I have a general idea in my head. But how fluid is it when you pick your hikes? Are you pretty much locked in, or do you just pick like the night before?
I'm a planner. Anyone will tell you that I'm a planner. But I'm also like... Go back a little further. I got a book a while back called Shrouded Memories. I don't know if you've heard of it. It has a lot of different history stories of the Whites, and that fascinates me. So not just the peak, but what happened in that area. It has stories about the person that was shot near the Cog Railway, and there's a gun still out in the woods there. It talks about there was a murder and the last person hung. It talks about the Willies, and then learning that the Willies aren't actually buried where the Willie House is. And it became a game of, well, where are they really buried? And it took a ton of research. So when I pick a mountain, for example, if I pick a highest 100, a lot of those are like, that's the deal. You're going up the highest 100 because the option of bouncing off to another peak is pretty limited because they're usually pretty brutal. Not to scare anybody. They just tend to be, not all of them, but some of them are just, that's your day. Some of the other ones, the 52s, I use an app, which is a phenomenal app called Wilder List. It allows you to track all your hikes. You can import and export spreadsheets. But what's really cool is it'll track all your lists too, but when you span out, it'll show all the mountains in the area. And then some of the other ones will show like different things. Like when I was hiking East Pond, it talked about this mining company that used to be there. And they used the diatomaceous earth, and they scraped East Pond, and they used to mine. And I'm like, there's an actual mine, a building out here. So it would snowball into like, okay, if I want to hit that, I can go find that, and I can hit that peak. So it's not as planned as a 48, where you don't necessarily plan a route. You plan a route with other things to see along the way, if that makes any kind of sense.
No, that makes sense. And I think the history piece of it obviously resonates. Me and Stomp are always talking about the history piece, and like I've been into like going into the Pemi and trying to find some of these old logging roads and things like that. And Stomp's obviously been over to Livermore, and there's always cool history to be found in the Whites. So I definitely get that. Do you have is there any sort of historical events in the Whites that I know you mentioned a couple of them, but is there any history events that really stand out that you obsess on?
I wouldn't say obsessed. I'm just fascinated to go. There's a couple of mines. There's an old lead mine that you come off a mountain. I kind of found my way up the top of it, and then perhaps legally or illegally found a way into it, which was really cool and exciting and different. Some of the plane crashes, like Waternaumi, if you've ever been up there, it's just moving to be up there to know what happened when the bomber hit and how the town rallied and the history of the pilot and how the secondary story of how it's amazing he's still alive. Stuff like that is really cool. The Pond of Solitude, is it? Not the Pond of Solitude, the pond where the Pond of Safety. Yep. The whole story there. It's just cool to be where they've been.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we sled up to there in the winter. That's a great spot.
Yeah, see, I'd like to do that. To me, it fascinates me. It's more than, I love the peaks. I love the views. I love the sunrises. I love the sunsets. But part of the other, there's more to, there's obscure things. There's caves, there's plains, there's so many different things to stumble across.
Yeah, I always get excited about the early paths, like the Crawford Path, Davis Path, thinking about when we would do, we did the Langdon Traverse earlier, and I was thinking that little outlook where you can see out into the presidentials and okay, this has got to be how Darby Field approached it, and he probably saw this view and was able to sort of figure out what route he was going to take from there. So I always get I'm always thinking in terms of the early people that visited the Whites and what they, what would it be like if how they experience it, where the trails aren't marked and they've got to make their way through. To me, it just fascinates me how they were okay, I'm gonna pick this ridge to build Davis Path to go up
and not turn.
Yeah, it's crazy. I'm not going to. Yeah, I'm just going to go right on the ridge.
Screw the next guy.
Shoulder. Yeah.
Who wants to switch back?
Yeah. Yeah. It's fascinating. So, all right. So you plan things out pretty well. Do you ever just say screw it, I just want to go and hike Mount Adams and Mount Madison in the summer, and I don't care about the crowds?
Yep. But I do care about the crowds. To add to that, yeah, I would. I would pick a time to go where they're not crowded. I tend to be hermitish. I don't, I prefer not to be in crowds. I've had a lady yell at me in Mount Washington because she was, I tried to get around her and she kept speeding up and wouldn't let me go around and then yelled at me. And I was like, I don't understand.
Oh my God. Those are the worst situations.
Yeah, I couldn't.
What a nightmare.
I was like, I'm not fast. I am I'm 5'0". I'm not a fast hiker at all. And I'm just, yeah, so people aren't necessarily I'll not a crowd person. That's the beauty of bushwhacking is you can get out in the woods and you do get that feeling of the explorers. You don't know if anyone's ever been there before.
Yeah, it is fascinating. Now, some of the lists that you're doing, so you're getting close to finishing the 67 and the New Hampshire 100 highest. Do you slow roll those finishes because you just want to keep going and do some other stuff, or are you going after those to finish them soon?
By default, I slow roll it mostly because the ones I have are way up northern Maine, and they do have excursions up to Katahdin, but it's a big bite to go up there, and it's a big plan. And as far as the last of the 100 highest I have, technically it's 104. I don't know why they throw the bonus 4 in. I have of the 6. I went to go after Wolf yesterday. Liz and I actually went out. We got to Blue Ridge. We had to break trail, and I was hitting what I call Lieutenant Dan snow drifts, where it's you ain't got no legs because you're you're up to your hips and you're just not moving. And I'm I'm going to break trail as much as I can, but we hit Blue Ridge, and I'm that's it. We can push to get to Wolf. We'll get there by 4 or 5. We'll be back out by 8 or 9. And it was the whole graph of fun and satisfaction to exhaustion and enjoyment. It's they're not crossing. It's time to go back. The snow makes it really hard. The depth. Now, on that note, there's 2 people last year. It was Matt, I might say, around Jannerone, and Rebecca Schubert. They did the highest 100 single season in a winter, which I can't even express how insane that is to me. If you've done these in the summer or even with a little bit of snow, to think about doing these 100 in a single season, it blows my mind.
Yeah, I remember they did that. That is crazy. It is interesting though. So like the one thing that is so critical about it, and it's a good thing, obviously, when you gain experience, but like being able to do those math calculations and know like, okay, like I'm past my time where, you know, now I'm going to be faced with coming out of here with a headlamp and I don't want to be doing that, or, you know, I just don't want to go past that. I don't want to be out there for 10 or 12 hours. I only want to be out for 8 hours. Like just being able to calculate like, okay, how much time is it going to take me to go back the way I came? It's not the same as how much time it took you to get there sometimes. So that level of experience over time is critical for safety. And the only way you can really get that is through experience over time. And it's just hard to explain to someone that doesn't know the area how you gain those skills. But I don't know, do you have any sort of thoughts around safety and how you manage things to make sure that you stay out of trouble?
Yeah. You know, controlled failures. I guess the way to say it, like when I first started with a hammock, I went in the backyard, did well. Then I tried a remote spot next to a campsite. And I got cold, so I slept in my truck until I realized I needed a quilt. And then you build up from there. I've had longer hikes where I've known it could be potential for trouble. And you plan for certain things. And the more you fail, the more you learn. As long as your failure is controlled, I guess is the way to say it, and you can get out on the other side of it, okay, you will learn from it. And the biggest question you have to ask yourself, you know, yeah, you can do all these things, but why? Why do you need to go get that summit right now today? Why? Okay, you accomplish and you get back, you're dead tired, you missed out on pizza, you can't have a beer. If you feel awesome, then do it. Then that's what drives you, then go. Don't let other people's thoughts and concerns, you know, people will always try to measure themselves by your accomplishments. And when you try to measure yourself by their accomplishments, you're either going to be disappointed or encouraged. You kind of have to throw all that out and just, if it is going to be a personal gain to you, do it. If you know you can do it, and if you know you can push through it, and you've had a series of failures that you've recovered safely, and you know that you can go bigger, go bigger. But also know when you're screwed. You got to know when that wall's ahead of you. It's like you could, but on the other side, you don't come back.
And you got to have the gear that's going to give you a little bit of time when things go south that 100%, you can hunker down. So,
yep.
Which, I mean, we talked about this with Liz. Liz, you know, you talked about how you carry probably more than you need to. Are you of the same mindset, Dave?
Yeah, I'm the guy that's like out on like Crotched Mountain, and everyone's like, "Oh, did you sleep out here last week? You know, did you stay out last night?" I'm like, no. Like, I just bring a lot of stuff because, you know, like if you think of it in the term of cars, I'm like a 1970 Tercel with like 600,000 miles on it. So if something's going to go, it's going to be big. It's not like, oh, the windshield wiper heater doesn't work. It's going to be like, no, the transmission dropped out and this thing's not moving. That's going to be me in the woods. I'm screwed. Yeah, like my body's just at that age and that mileage that it's like, I got to be ready to sleep on the ground for a couple of days until they find me.
Yeah, matter of fact, I was thinking that exact same thing. Like we were going up the Brutus Bushwhack last weekend, and I don't have like the televators on my snowshoe. I bought a new pair of snowshoes, but like I gotta adjust. So I brought my old snowshoes, and I don't have the televator. And I was thinking like at this really steep part of Brutus, and I was like, this is like the scenario where my Achilles is going to like snap and I'm going to be 8 miles out. So it's like, I had that in my mind and I was like, all right, I can't torque my ankle too badly. I want to protect it. But it's the same idea that you're talking about. Yep. Is like something goes wrong, it's going to go wrong severely. And you got to make sure that you've got like, okay, enough gear that you can hunker down for 12, 18, 24 hours.
Yep. And it's a process to me. It's like, you know, not to put it in terms of anything, but you hit a thing of discomfort. You know your discomfort. Part of hiking is getting comfortable being uncomfortable. That's part of regular hiking, bushwhacking, through hiking, whatever you want. You get comfortable with being uncomfortable. You learn to manage discomfort. When discomfort becomes pain, it has to get your attention. Pain you can mitigate. But then when pain becomes to a point, now you're pushing injury. Once you have injury, welcome to Scroodsville. You know, once you have that injury, depending where you are, it changes everything. So you have to kind of be aware of where you are on that scale in my head. You know, and it's not a constant, like, how am I doing now? Is everything okay? Have I enough fluids? You know, it's more of just you just know your body after a certain amount of time. You know what you're doing. You know where you are. Like, oh, this was like that time on X Mountain when all of a sudden I got the leg cramp and I had to tap out. Or this is when I was hiking with so-and-so and they threw up because they were dehydrated. Like, they were smaller hikes, but you learn, I guess is the way to say it.
Yeah, and the backpacking stuff that you've done over the years, so you had mentioned in the notes here that you've done the long trail. Have you done any other long through hikes? You did like Sunapee Greenway, I think, that you had mentioned too, but can you talk about...
Yeah, the Sunapee is a great starting, I guess if you want to call it that. It's not easy, nothing really is, but it's an awesome beginner or experience. It's got plenty of places to tap out is the way I look at it. And if you're from the area, it's fairly local. You can get out pretty easily, get rides, but it's a great experience. I enjoyed that a lot. The long trail is amazing. You spend the first section with the AT hikers, and then you kind of get thrown into the woods of Vermont. And if you like mud, it's the best place in the world.
Yeah, I hear that. What about like outside of New England? Like, so I noticed Liz didn't invite you to Utah, but any plans to go outside there?
Well, I think it's a notable hiker's hike, and only they're allowed to go. So,
oh yeah, that's true.
I am blacklisted. Sorry, I'm not on that list yet. So,
yeah, I'll invite you to my next big trip. So, do you ever get out of New England at all, or do anything?
Not particularly. I mean, we do family trips and that. Like Mrs. Shits is not a hiker, so we'll do. We actually, when we were younger, we used to spend a lot of time in the Whites doing the basin, doing the white stuff up in the national parks and all that. And we've been to the Grand Canyon and things like that, Yellowstone, and we didn't see anybody doing what he was doing there in the Yellowstone. Actually, we saw a lot of morons, but that's a different story too. Yeah. So yeah, we not necessarily pure hiking, but just kind of getting out, and not so much beyond the New England area.
Yeah, and I don't want you to give away any of your secrets, but like abandoned trails, like I've been talking, like the one that I have, like my white wheel that I need to get up on. As a matter of fact, we were talking about this weekend, but I do eventually want to get up the old Adams Slide trail eventually. But have you, is there any abandoned slides that you want to talk about or share with the audience that really get you, or that you would recommend people check out?
Since I've done it, I probably won't be back for a while. I'll talk about on the back side of the Bald Faces. When you go up, I think it's what's the really steep one? The south and north. I always get it backwards.
Yeah, that's south. Yeah.
Yeah, if you come off, like I did a trip up over Eagle Crag and then north to south. If you go over the back of south, there was a trail that connects out there to, there's two trails out there.
It's like the Rainbow Trail. Or something.
It used to be called, I think it might have been called that. I can't remember the exact name of it. It goes down, it's a steep drop, and then it goes in this incredible birch glade near this like moose heaven. And it was one of the coolest places that I kind of camped out for a night, and then I pushed on and did there was two peaks in between, and then came out over by Eastman and hit Eastman and that there's a trail. If you can pick it up, it's pretty cool. You can't always tell that you're still on it, but every now and then you'll catch glimpses of like it's so clear where it used to be.
Yeah, it looks like, so you're saying hit South Baldface, and then there's Sable Mountain, Chandler
and Sable, correct? Yep. So if you drop back, if you go right off the back side of that, it dips down, and there's an old trail. If you can pick up the old maps from it's either the 30s or 40s, and you can follow the contours, it takes you right up through Chandler and Sable.
Yeah, because I'm looking at like on the map here. Stomp. Now we got our wheel spinning here. So like South Baldface, you drop down, like it's a pretty flat. Like it basically goes down about 500 feet, and then
pretty quick
you
drop.
Just take that shoulder of Sable Mountain, and it seems like it's totally doable. And when you look down off of South Baldface, like you can look down into that forest, and it is like it's pretty open.
You can almost see old cairns coming off the downside of South Baldface. As you're going down, you pick them up in the woods, what looks like it to me. And then when you get out into the glades, I haven't picked up any blazes on any of these yet, but when you pick it up, you can almost see where you go through the woods, how the topography, and you follow the lines. It's like you're 100% on a trail. And then, a half mile later, you're like, where the hell am I? Like where to go?
Yeah. And you can see, like, when you come, I mean, Chandler looks a little bit more steep, but, like, you can see coming off of Chandler to reconnect back up to Eastman, like, that you can totally see how that, like, basically that drainage at 2,400 feet, it just is a straight walk right up there.
It runs. The problem with the drainage, you got to be careful because it does drain into a bog. So you got to kind of ride higher elevation. But yeah, you can make a giant loop by going up and over Eagle Crag, is it there? And doing the 2 bald faces, dropping in the back, camping for a night, then hitting Chandler Sable, going across the brook. And the other thing too is if you could pick up old fire roads and get your cross for bridged crossings, then you can hit Eastman and go right up, make a giant loop.
Oh, Stomp. This sounds tantalizing.
It's a great trip. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
That's a good one. That's better than I even expected from you, Dave.
That's the only one I'm sharing, though. I'm not sharing the really good ones.
All right. Well, that's a really good one, so I'm impressed. But I don't know, Stomp, what did I miss? Anything you want to talk to Liz and Dave about?
Well, I think I want to backtrack with the listeners just for a second about the 500 highest. People may not be super familiar with these, but it's based on the 200-foot prominence rule. So any summit or peak or hill that has a 200-foot rise in elevation counts on the list. The New Hampshire highest 500 list is one list. There is another one called the Lists of John, which is similar. So I've been doing this for a little while. I think I'm at like 138 on the New Hampshire 100 highest list, but on the List of John, I think I'm a little lower because there's some weird calculation difference there. But so just so you have a little background on what that is. Liz, what number are you at on the 500?
191.
Nice. And Dave, how about
172.
you? Nice. Excellent. So we're sort of in the same ballpark. That's fantastic. Cool. I was curious, do you two have any awareness of or interest in doing the Bushwhack the 48? That's a hell of a challenge.
I actually ran into somebody this spring. I was doing my trail work, and I ran into a hiker who said that he was working on bushwhacking all 4,000 footers, and I had no idea that was a thing.
That is a thing. That is a tough thing.
Yeah.
There's very few people that have done it. I'm fascinated by it. I mean, me personally, I think I've maybe done one, and that would be Liberty with Jimmy Chaga. And I mean, just to clarify what that means, I mean, bushwhacking is supposed to be just walking through the woods without a path. I mean, there can't be a path. If it's a herd path, sort of like Brutus, I would think is probably not a traditional bushwhack. It's probably a bino, a bushwhack in name only.
Like that.
But yeah. So there's a distinction there. There were a lot of, like Vosges Spur, for instance, is probably not so much a bushwhack anymore because there's such a clear path to the top. So anyway, that's something I was thinking about. Like, man, we don't talk about the bushwhack in the 48. I've probably seen 2 people tackling that list in my brief career hiking here.
That's a big ask. I mean, that to me that's that's crazy. You know, there's like, I love adventure, and then there's that line where it's like, nope, good right where I'm at.
Well, that's what's sort of neat about the highest 500, because literally you could climb something that's literally 201 feet and you've got it. And there's always something special about the 500, I've found. Like, no matter which one it is, there's always something that makes it a really special, unique adventure. I just hand it to you. And Liz, I'm super, super jealous that you got Mount Kangamangas from the Livermore side. Because
that was a great hike. That was a great approach too, like doing it from.
Okay, yeah. Can you tell me about it just briefly? Because I wanted to do it, and you beat me to it. I'm like, God damn it!
Yeah, it really it didn't even seem that hard because from the height of land at the Livermore Trail.
You're right.
The first part's really steep, but then it's open woods, and it's not that bad at all. Dave's shaking his head. He did not do it that way. He went in from the Kank.
No, I came in from the Kank. It was. Oh, it was not welcoming.
Yeah, we've all seen that from the Kank. That side is brutal.
Yeah, no, my line was really good. It was a great bushwhack.
That's great. No, I really admire you two for tackling it. That's awesome.
Is there any view on Mount Kangamangas?
No.
Nope.
No.
not if you like pine trees.
Yeah. That's the problem. There's not a lot of views in a lot of these hikes. So,
but that's the payoff. There's also no trail runners.
True.
There's nobody bitching about post holes. There's no clouds. There's a lot of pluses to it. And when you do get a view, it's usually pretty epic. It's usually like framed in the trees. Yeah. It's usually pretty cool. You get a better chance of seeing moose. You get a better chance of wildlife. I mean, it's different.
Yeah. Have you ever stumbled on like moose or bear or anything like scary when it comes to animals?
Yes. A couple of moose. We startled a moose going up to the true summit of the 52 there. Pogus. I stink at names. Pogus. What is it? Pogus, right? Yeah, the true summit of Pogus is actually a bushwhack. And on the other side of the blowdown, there was a small young moose that jumped up, and I followed it, and it was like the whole scene at Jurassic Park, where it's like I was right on it. Like even its crap was still shiny. I was right behind it, and I could not catch up to it again. And then it's that moment of like, is it hunting me? Clever girl. Like, I just couldn't catch up with it again. And I've had bears on the Sunapee Greenway. They actually kind of eyeballed the bear bag and stuff. The scariest thing about bushwhacking to me is finding something you shouldn't find, like some kind of cocaine operation out in the woods. We found an abandoned campsite once.
Dude, we've talked about that.
Oh, that is probably the creepiest thing when you're like, why is this out here? And you're like,
absolutely,
I'm dead. Like I shouldn't have found this.
Yeah. Right. That is the one negative.
Yeah, I think about that. Like like every once in a while, you'll get like this person that like that girl in Utah that got kidnapped, and they brought her out to like a camp and like kept her there for like 6 months. Imagine just accidentally stumbling on that. Like, oh my god!
I'd say that'd be my luck. I'd be like, sorry, yeah, I just. Well,
me and Stomp have talked about this. Like, if you're in that scenario, and Liz, you can chime in too. Like, do you just go into like like commando mode and take everything over, or do you just run away and scurry off?
I would run away.
If I found someone kidnapped?
You're running away, Liz?
I think if I found a kidnap situation, I just hit the old in reach button.
Okay. All right. That's good.
And then just do the, pretend like I'm talking into it and be like, Green Beret, Dave sits in the woods here, found it. Isolated. Send in paratroopers.
Yeah, hope the bad guy runs away.
Whole platoon's coming behind me. Shit's about to go down. You better just get down on the ground now.
Hope that they buy it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Just bark bigger than you are. And
all right. Well, you guys, we've learned a lot. I think that tip on the bald face is great. I think Liz, you putting up with Dave through all this, I'm impressed. And I also know that now we will never, ever give him the Notable Hike Award.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Keep submitting them, but you will be Susan Lucci forever.
I'm scrolling podcasts right now to see what else is out here. I'm going to see what else I can listen to.
All right. Well, good luck if they'll invite you on as a guest.
You're right. I got to change my name.
Yeah. All right, Stomp. So let's call it a night, and then again, we do want to just make sure that our thoughts and condolences are with the family of Christopher Roma. Certainly, it's a reminder that these and friends
for sure. It's hit everybody. Unbelievable. So rest in peace, Chris.